Face.
You're on.
I'm ready. Oh, hello.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome, number 41 of Heavy Metallurgy. Thank you for spending your Friday with us, Alan. Good day.
Hey. Yes, doing all right. I've got a little bit of a cold tonight, so apologies if I sound a little off or I don't talk quite as much as usual. But I going to try to save my voice so I can make it through the duration. That's okay. I don't have to talk a lot tonight, do I, Marty? Because we've got
yeah, you're going to be expressing yourself through the medium of dance tonight. So everybody get ready for that. He's got the stretchy pants on, ready for some power squats, and it's all going to be good. But tonight, we have been working on this topic. About a year or so ago, I did a video called The Dark Side of Collecting, which seemed to hit a chord with a lot of people, and big, huge comments, a lot of people getting in to oh, yeah, I'm going to come back to that. Getting into the topic, and Alan and I are like, you know what, we need to do a stream on this, get, a group of people together that are friends and that all have the similar affliction that we do and talk about this. And also, out of a strange coincidence, the guys over in the UK also are doing this exact same topic, but they're doing it tomorrow night. So go check out Contact in Blood tomorrow night. I've got the link in the description. I think they go a lot earlier in the day, but they're going to be talking about very similar things. Cool. So, it's coincidence, one of those things that happens, but it's a topic I think big enough a lot of people can probably relate to and talk about. So
yeah, they're going to have a really cool perspective on it, and they'll be approaching it from angles that we're probably not going to think of, because they're collecting in a different place in the world where they're going to have easier access to some things and harder access to other things. So no, I think they'll have a really cool, unique perspective. It'll be interesting. I want to definitely be interested in listening to their take on it.
Absolutely. Yep. But I think my video was mostly negative. Like I said, the dark side of collecting, and which we're going to get into some of that tonight, but we also want to talk about some of the positives. And we have assembled a group of folks that are awesome. We love them. We love their channels. We love them as people. Great dudes. I'm going to bring them on here one at a time. Is there anything else I should add before we jump into this, Alan?
Do you want to plug your wares, good sir?
Oh, yeah. Also a link in the description for the Heavy Metallurgy and Streaming There Is No Law t-shirts for all of you that have purchased them this week. They've all been shipped out. Thank you so much. You rule. It supports the channel that keeps paying for the StreamYard stuff. And hey, it's some cool digs, and we don't want to see all you folks running around bare ass. So definitely buy a shirt.
Absolutely killer as well.
Yes. But without further ado, we're going to bring on some fine folks here. First up, we've got Patrick from Zero Salem.
Hey, people. How's it going?
Excellent.
To you all.
Thank you for joining us. Next up, we've got Myke from the Myke C-Town channel and also Dead End Hip Hop. How's it going, Myke?
Hey. How's it going, y'all?
Going good.
Great to see you.
Lastly, but not leastly, we've got the Barbecuetioner from Chromium Dioxide Radio. And we're all here for a specific reason. And none of us are spring chickens anymore. I know it's hard to believe. And we've pretty much had a lifelong affliction. Good thing, bad thing. I don't know how you want to swing it, but we've been collecting music, been very passionate about music since probably a very young age. And here we are. And I guess where we should probably start out is discussing how did each of you get into collecting? And I think we should probably start with Pat. I'm going to try to shimmy these around here and try to do this.
Oh, there we go. Look at me. All right.
Look at you.
So I've kind of given this some thought over the past week since I got the initial email with the topics. I think collecting at first for me was out of utility, because this was, and I feel bad for the younger generation of metal kids that grew up with streaming. Like, if I have to hear one more old dude talk about how they had to rely on physical media and it was the only thing, like, we get it, but that's what it was. I mean, I would go to the mall, pick up a Nuclear Assault tape, Creator tape, and I would listen to the shit out of it You know, when I got old enough to get a crappy job, like at the grocery store, that's what like over 50% of my income usually went to, was buying records. Like when I got into hardcore, went to hardcore shows, I'd support the bands. Collecting vinyl. I hated vinyl at first because I didn't have a good stereo. I had a little combo stereo and CDs sounded better. So, and when I'd go see bands and they had 7 inches for sale, I was like, what the hell is this? You know, and of course this is long before the vinyl boom. So, but I wanted to amass stuff and collect it and have a tactile connection to it, which dips when the downloading thing came out. And then sometime like in my late 20s, early 30s, when I started having a disposable income for the first time in my life and starting to kind of lust towards like, ooh, I can own these earache records that, I've been wanting on vinyl now for over 10 years. I can slowly check off every band from the Grind Crusher comp and get their albums. That was like the start of like the fetishized version of collecting, I guess, the sort of like, I want to own this and have it as an artifact kind of thing. And then it kind of got to the point where I'm like, okay, now I'm buying CDs again, which is weird because I was a vinyl only guy for so long. But maybe it actually kind of went hand in hand with me starting the channel, because as new stuff was coming out and vinyl was kind of like unwieldy, especially with double LPs and 7-inch box sets and stuff that like aren't that fun to sit down and listen to because it involves a lot of activity. I'm like, cool, I'll get the CD. I'll spend $10 on the CD as opposed to $35 on a double LP, So then that came along. So then eventually you have me at age almost 44 now with all this. That's what happened in the end. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, Myke.
So I guess I'm kind of in the same boat as Pat. Prior to getting into like, punk rock and hardcore, I would just tape shit from the radio or, tape my friends' tapes and that kind of thing. But once I got really, really, really involved in like the punk and hardcore scene, I think that's when I got really into collecting, because, you had this mindset of directly supporting bands. Especially if you had friends that were in punk bands, they'd come through town, and if you didn't buy their shit, they didn't have gas money to get to the next place. So I just got into this whole thing of, all right, well, any band that I see, I'm doing a service by buying their records. The funny thing is, when I was listening to Pat, I started thinking about how, I'm old enough to remember when bands would come through town, the CD would be like $10, but the record would be $8. And it's funny how that's totally flipped now.
Oh yeah.
And I would buy the record because it was cheaper. I didn't think about the whole thing of this is going to be a complete fucking nightmare to carry around later on. But yeah, I mean, I think that if I had never gotten into like punk and hardcore and started having friends in the scene, I probably wouldn't have gotten into collecting mass amounts of records. I mean, it's sad that 30 years later, I'm still in that same stupid ass mindset. I haven't grown up at all. I mean, I still have the very first 7-inch that I got, because I don't get rid of records, which is, I guess we'll get into that later. But yeah, I mean, I think it just really started from a place of supporting people that were creating music that, as cheesy as it sounds, literally saved my life. If I had not found punk and hardcore, I would not be here talking to you guys right now. I would have killed myself long time ago. So does that translate to me buying stupid metal records? Not really, but it comes from the same place.
Right on. Phillip.
So we're doing this because
we're doing this.
I was a little bit nervous that this was like some sort of intervention that my wife and my mother set up, because I've got some issues.
We've talked.
No, yeah, it's not I feel, it's like we feel.
We feel.
You have to phrase it correctly.
Yeah. All right.
Puppets, metal, and movies. Come on now.
What the fuck wrong with you,
and
man?
comic books and movie props. Like I'm going to go out on a limb here and think I'm probably the sickest of the bunch here.
That's not a very long limb to go out on.
I got to tell you, see, you guys had a lot of advantages over me. I'm probably going to be the most terminally uncool guy here because I grew up in northern Canada, as a lot of you guys know. Labrador. You're in the sticks, you're in the woods. So the idea of bands coming to your town
Zero.
or record stores, having we had 2 channels. Like, we had no interactions with the outside world. But getting to what got me into it, I blame my father. My father was a little bit like me. He is a collector, but I was allowed to touch anything except his record collection. He would always be like, "Do not touch my records," and that was forbidden fruit, as you can see.
Oh
right?
yeah.
And again, this is going to be completely uncool, but Aaron, metal theologian, is going to hate my ass right now. But can you imagine not having any knowledge of music or anything and finding this?
Been there.
Right. Like, oh yeah, it's me. You know, but no, man. Can you imagine being young and seeing this cover and then turn it around? And it's like, is that my Uncle Murray? Like when he comes out of like the Legion at like 3 a.m? Is Uncle Murray? Is he in Meatloaf? Right. So this imagery, like the whole iconography, ripping up out of the dirt, everything about it, and it actually inspired me to draw. And that's one of the reasons why I began drawing, was because of this cover. Right.
It's a great cover. The cover is not at all indicative of what's on that record. It is so it's so not.
That and Molly Hatchet.
Molly Hatchet
records.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get us started on Molly Hatchet. We've been in that rabbit hole.
But so, like, I grew up, and it's funny because I grabbed these ones, and these were the ones that always caught my eye because they were on regular play. Was, you know, the Essential Gene Krupa, almost upside down there, Dr. Hook, right? And this one, Stars on 45. Like, who the hell? Like, we've all seen that, but that was music to me. So, you know what I mean? I had no idea. And you say you, Mikey, you still have your first record. Well, here's my first one because I wanted to be like my dad, right? And I wanted to start collecting. And this is my very first. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's in fantastic condition. I learned to take care of my records. Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, you know, so, and that's what planted the seed with me, and the sickness grew from there.
Yeah. I suppose I should mention I had a similar thing with my stepdad. He was like a deadhead hippie dude and had a pretty big record collection, like for the time, probably like had like, I don't know, like 1,000 LPs or something like that in our basement. He was also big into science fiction and horror and stuff. And he had tons of like Asimov and HP Lovecraft, like paperbacks and all that stuff all over the place. And I think that was my family room, my rumpus room, if you will, like growing up. And there was all that stuff and all that ephemera surrounding me growing up. So I think that definitely had an impact. My stepdad's a cool cat. So
yeah,
also
go ahead.
Same experience with Bat Out of Hell and Molly Hatchet, and Nazareth actually gets pretty heavy here and there, but also not what I was expecting with Hair of the Dog.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about fake out album covers forever, but I don't want to digress too much.
No. I mean, like, we're going to talk about this, you know, for sure, but it's just, there's nothing quite like, you know, holding it and looking through it and studying it and memorizing it.
It's a thing.
You know?
It's a deeper connection. It takes you. I mean, the music is one portal, but I think the cover art and all the liner notes is the door, the gateway, you know?
Yeah.
And my children are growing up in this now. Like, this is like, my house is nuts. It's like Pee-wee's Playhouse. And I feel bad because my son is 6 and he is completely out of the loop. Like, he still thinks it's WrestleMania 2. He still thinks Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy are going to battle next week because I'm constantly watching all the old shit, right?
My kid does not give a fuck, but we'll talk about that later. Alan, you're up.
My experience background's a little closer to Phillip's. I grew up out in the rural parts of the South. So, it was a town with 2 stoplights. Actually, the second stoplight was put in about the time I was 7 years old. So my first 6 years of existence, 1 stoplight town, literally. no bands were coming anywhere close to us. There were no record stores anywhere close to us. You went an hour if you wanted to get to something that resembled a shopping mall. But in terms of collecting, I saw Matt from the Dark Path made a comment earlier that he started collecting all kinds of random stuff as a kid, and I did a lot of that too. Star Wars toys, even getting the first Star Wars figures. They always had the cardboard. That they came on would have pictures on the back showing all the other figures, and I'd sit there and circle the ones I wanted and put a big X across the ones I already had. That evolved into bubblegum cards. You'd have bubblegum card sets put out for like every movie release. There were Gremlins cards and Baby Secret of the Lost Legends cards. And that morphed into Garbage Pail Kid cards in 84, 85, 86. And that kind of morphed into baseball cards. When you got too old for Garbage Pail Kids, that became comic books, also around that time. So collected lots of different things before getting into records and heavy music, but music was always there in the background. Like Patrick, both you and Phillip said, my dad had tons of music. I guess you would call me a second generation record collector. My dad was a very serious record collector even when I was a little kid. At 4 or 5 years old, it was perfectly normal for me for an adult to be talking about their record want list. It's like, I go to school. It's like, hey, what's on your dad's want list? Like, you're weird. And just like, okay, you want to go play? But he was always, going through magazines, writing record dealers, ordering stuff through the mail, doing the old, they had auctions back then, but you just had to mail in your bids, and they would just, accept the highest bid for stuff. And that was a normal background stuff, with my dad growing up. He, collected tons of different types of music. He collected 16 millimeter films of old like B westerns, a lot of the old Republic serials. I spent a lot of my time, a lot of weekends as a youth watching the original 6 millimeter prints of Crimson Ghost. We'd set up the big reel-to-reel projectors in the living room and put blankets over all the windows and sit and watch that, and the Purple Monster Strikes, and Nayoka, Queen of the Jungle for hours, and just loved it.
there was marry this man.
He's still around. If you can pry him away from my mom, she might be glad to have you take him off his hands. They've been together over 50 years. She's probably got her fill.
He can have his, huh?
I was gonna slide that in, but you beat me to it. So collecting, it was a very normal activity in my family. Even my mom, would collect, different, kinds of things. Even my sister, she had her own Garbage Pail Kids collections. She had enough My Little Ponies to start her own fucking ranch. Just herds of those things across the entire, bedroom floor. It was really normal. But, out of all the things, that I collected here and there, over time, they all kind of fell away, except for, music. Especially as I got towards high school, I got interested into heavier music, and like the other guys have said, here we are 30, 40 years later and still doing the music thing. So that's my background story. Marty, I think it's your turn to share. I'll try to go quickly through this. For me, collecting as a kid, again, I'm in northern Michigan. There was no shows coming through. There's no scene. Traverse City, Michigan has grown a lot over the years, but when I was a kid, very small town, very small northern town on the water. So there's a touristy element, but never really, we'd go Woolworths and Giant Way, and there'd be tapes and records or 8-tracks. For me, I'll be 51 in June. So I grew up with 8-tracks. I had Star Wars 8-tracks. I had others, but apparently when I was 7 or 8, I saw Kiss on TV, and my dad said I went ape shit. He said I just went nuts, and he said you wouldn't fucking stop talking about him. So this record ended up entering my life at 7 or 8 years old, which would have been 78 or 77. I don't know. This is the original record I had since a kid. I know every pop, bump, scratch on this thing. Still has the booklet intact. This band, popcorn shit, call them what you want. I know I'm embarrassed to call them one of my favorite bands. I just am, but they are. And there's like a deep feeling of nostalgia. And But, when you're that young, you don't really have any income. I collected other things. I collected, baseball cards, football cards, stickers. Anybody remember stickers? Collect fucking stickers.
Scratch and sniff.
Pac-Man, yeah, scratch and sniff, Pac-Man stickers, stamps. My grandma got me into stamp collecting, which is, you want to talk about fucking coolness unbridled, is stamp collecting. I'll tell you straight up. But, Kiss, for me, that I grew up in a house that had music in it. My dad was an avid country music fan. For the time, Tom T. Hall, this isn't country, but Mac Davis, Neil Diamond, what else?
Engelbert Humperdinck, please tell me.
No, there was no Humperdinck. Kenny
Williams.
Rogers.
Andy Williams, yes.
No,
sir.
Andy Williams. William Whalen, stuff like that. Johnny Cash. But so Kiss was one of those anomalies. And the cool thing about my family, where I grew up with friends whose parents were taking their Kiss records away because they were satanic, my parents they didn't necessarily encourage it, but they didn't discourage it. They kind of let me be me, which was cool. And it wasn't until and it was Kiss. And then since there was nothing else going on, I'm young. You guys remember the K-Tel commercials that were on the TV back in the day?
Oh, God, yeah.
Today's top sounds moving full tilt K-Tel. We've got some Blondie on here, some Pete Townsend, some Devo, Cheap Trick, Genesis, Al Stewart, Manhattan's, Ambrosia. That one's going out to you, BBQ. So yeah.
Thank you.
Radioactive, K-Tel's hits. So you've got Moody Blues on here, The Police, REO Speedwagon, Pat Benatar, The Who, Hall & Oates, more Blondie, Go-Go's. This is getting into the 80s a little bit. The Rock album. This one is a fucking classic. I love this one. ELO, Foreigner, Eddie Money, 2 Tickets to Paradise. Come on now. Robin Trower, Blue Oyster Cult, Cheap Trick. It was Kiss and this stuff. The stuff on the radio. And then of course the 80s hit. I remember with my tape deck sitting in front of the TV recording. You guys remember the show Solid Gold with the Solid Gold dancers?
Please.
Hell, Phil Collins
Phil
Collins would come on there and I'd be recording him and all sorts of other shit. Flexing with the K-Tel records. Fuck yeah. When was the last time you saw a K-Tel record on the VC, bitches? Bring it. From there, you get older, you start hearing some heavier stuff. And it wasn't until, I guess, grade school, 4th, 5th grade, my friend Scott moved to the area and he started getting into heavier stuff. And I kind of followed along with him. And from there, collecting became, it was a thing of wonder. I mean, you open yourself up to this whole new world, this heavier, metal bands. And then, as heavier stuff hits, thrash and death metal. I mean, you get sucked in and you go for the ride. And I just found myself, it was the passion of it. I loved it. I just wanted to fuel the fire. I wanted to hear more and more and more to learn about this stuff. But then it kind of was also, there was a competition going with him. I wanted to get the tape that he didn't get so I could be like, see, let's check out this. I found this one. And it was like fun, friendly competition. We'd go to the store together, Camelot Music. He'd start on the Z's, I'd start on the A's. We'd meet in the middle and see what tapes we had. Like, woohoo, let's go check these out. So, and from there, I don't know if it became ritual. I mean, we can discuss this stuff down the road later. I mean, it's like smokers. Part of the addiction of smoking is, the hand to mouth, the lighting the cigarette, the whole ritual of doing all that stuff. And in a lot of ways, collecting, especially the older you get, I think it's habit, it's ritual, it's addiction. I mean, there's a lot of good shit that comes of it. I mean, obviously you're supporting the arts, which is always a good thing, but it becomes, I don't know, it becomes like a drug, I guess, a dopamine rush when those records hit the mailbox, and
serotonin. I don't know.
Yeah, serotonin, dopamine, whatever. But what do you guys think? Open it up to the class here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, part of it, I'm always trying to stay current. Like I already went through that period where I'm like, I don't care what's going on at all. I'm in my 30s now, whatever. I'm going to stick with the classics. And then I got hooked into basically rediscovered underground death metal and black metal and stuff like that. Like I was primarily into hardcore in my early 30s. And it was a rush of nostalgia back to when I was 14. And I discovered, you know, the labels that put out that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh my God. So it's not all just like brutal tech death type stuff. Like it's stuff that sounds like what I listened to when I was younger. There's all these South American bands and all this stuff. Like this rules. And I got completely obsessed. And somewhere along the line, I became that like always wanting to hear the newest thing, even if it wasn't like the most original thing ever, you know? And there's a combination of that and just tracking down and discovering stuff that came out back in the day that I haven't heard yet, which is pretty much limitless. If we're talking about like 80s and 90s, like underground metal, it's a very deep well of like stuff that you can purchase.
Endless well.
And hold in your hands.
Yep.
Yeah. So that combined with like modern technology and smartphones, and when you're bored, just scrolling through distros, being like, man. And here we go. And once in a while, the kind of expensive gem or grail, you know, that you shell out for. So it's real easy. It's real easy to be into that, good or bad, you know, whatever. But there you go. There you go, Aaron. Exactly.
Go ahead, jump in, anybody. Don't be bashful.
That's right. Because I'll keep talking. That'll end in tears. That keeps happening.
That's why we pay the big dollars.
I forgot the question.
No, we're just talking about
I did too.
we're just talking about the early connection with it, and you know, is it ritual? Is it habit at this point? How do you know? We get older and older and older. Obviously, there's an end point to this because no one's going to make this out of here alive. So.
Well,
one point I'll make at this stage, I agree with your points, Marty. I think there's a positive to that, though. This, definitely should not all be grim. And again, I'll use my dad as a good example. He's, almost 80 years old, and he still actively collects records. He's on eBay almost daily, looking at things. If there's a record show in driving distance, he'll still go to it. And he's obviously has to take a lot more breaks and sit down more often, but he'll still go look through things. He still talks to his, record collecting buddies on the phone and emails back and forth all the time. And it's really good. It's given him something very, fun, enjoyable to focus on in retirement that he still looks forward to, that he is still very, interactive and engaged with. His health is slipping. He's, getting pretty old at this point. But he's never going to be bored. There's never going to be a day where he wakes up and says, like, "Oh, I got nothing to do." He's got 2,000 records. He's always in there playing something or calling somebody about something or typing another title into eBay to see if it's there. There's still stuff on his want list he hasn't picked up. And I'm really glad that he's got something like that. Because I see other people, that I know and am familiar with, they get to the retirement age and they just plop down on the couch and they take root there. And because they have nothing to do. It's like, it's Saturday, I'll mow the grass. Then they come back inside and just sit down until next Saturday when they have to mow the grass again. They've, friends have drifted apart over time, or they relocated later in life and never really, made many connections or roots where they're at now. And man, they don't have anything going on. You ask, what are you doing? Nothing. What'd you do this week? Nothing. And they're dead serious. They just sat there and watched whatever was on TV.
Judge Judy.
Yep, exactly.
They would just, they just pick a channel and they just sit there and watch until they have to get up and take a piss or get something to eat. And it's so, collecting, there is a plus. It gives you something to always keep your mind active with. Whether you're focusing on old stuff or new stuff or whatever, you're focused on something. It really gives you something to work at, to build towards. So that's, I think, a good side of that ritual is that, it'll keep you active.
That's a really good point. I mean, because the older I get, I start getting a little bit of guilt creeps in. It maybe be different if my kid was into it. But he's not. I mean, he's young. He's only 11, and it's, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. But anyway,
Well,
Yeah,
what the hell else are we going to do? I mean, what are you going to join a sportsing team or something?
Yeah, golf,
Bullshit to that. All right.
camp.
I mean, these albums are our friends.
Mhm.
These things that we collect are, it's not just the comfort. I get accused of like, oh, you're just a nostalgia guy. I'm not. I never left. Right? I just want to go home. it's as simple as that. And like, it's funny you bring up like Iron Maiden, and Iron Maiden is such a, it's Iron Maiden now. But like, do you remember the time when Iron Maiden was a latchkey kid band and it was listened? They were like the kids that loved Iron Maiden were like wore jogging pants. You know what I mean? Like
shop
and
class kids, man.
the shop class kid, and it was just like, well, that was me.
So the Iron Maiden fans up here all look like they owned an IROC Camaro and drank cheap shitty beer out of the back of it. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, but
that was Iron Maiden fans around here.
But then you find this. You know what I mean? It's just a fluke. You buy it because of the cover, and you're into Marvel comics, and you're like, well, that looks like a Marvel comic. Like a Tales of Terror or something like that, and then you put it on, you're like, oh God, well, this is exactly what I've been looking for, and I've been following that ever since.
Yeah,
first time
I
I
think
heard
I'm
that
kind of in the
stuff.
same boat as you guys.
And it's sick.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mike.
I totally agree with you guys. I mean, whenever I go out of town, like especially if I would go with whoever I'm dating at the time, they'd be like, all right, well, I want to go to this park and I want to go to this museum and I want to go check out this cool restaurant. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I've got like 4 record stores that I found in this city. So at some point we're going to have to split up and I'm going to go do this while you fucking do whatever.
And I'm going to be a while.
Is you fucking hovering over my shoulder like fucking Tinkerbell being like, oh, are you done yet? Are you done?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. Oh yeah.
And what's even worse is don't fucking bring me shitty records and be like, hey, do you have this? Or, do you know what this is? Leave me the fuck alone, man. Leave me the fuck alone. Like, go to the pet store, look at cats, or do whatever. But leave me alone for a couple hours at least,
Do you remember when Platinum Blonde was a thing?
Right.
This is the very conversation my dad and my mom had on every family vacation until I was like 16 years old. That's why I'm losing it right now. Every vacation was completely planned around how many record stores are there for Dad to look in?
Yep.
And where the fuck will you all go to leave me alone to look at the record stores?
Yep.
Take them to the zoo. I don't care. Go away.
But yeah, like you said, it does still keep you active because I mean, what else am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Like I've never liked sports, so I'm not gonna go fucking play basketball or football or some shit, because that'll just be triggering. I'll think of high school. So no, I don't want to do that. And there's no other hobbies that I find even remotely interesting. So this is all I got. As sad as that sounds.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's a great point. The older I get, I don't go camping. I'm not a sports guy. Everywhere I've ever gone, as soon as you get to the hotel, I open up the yellow pages, start looking, record store. Okay. And you're right. If your significant other is with you, it's miserable. Why don't you go wait in the car for a while? I'll come back and get you later. And then there was one time I took our son when he was just a little guy, just starting to walk around, to a record show because I had no other option for him. That was hell. That was my most. I have dreams about record shopping. Okay, it's always Car City Records from Detroit, even though they didn't have much in there. It was just a cool shop. I love digging through it, and my dreams are always I'm in there and I'm finding all these cool, never heard of Destruction albums or whatever. And so here I am in my special place, a record show. They're so much fun. They rarely come to Traverse City, but when they do, I go. And I have my kid. I was out of there in about 25 minutes, and I was so pissed. But
I'll make this real quick. That reminds me, I went to New Orleans one time with a girlfriend, and we were literally just walking down whatever street, and I saw this little hole in the wall record store, and I was like, can I pop in here just for like 10 minutes? It's some shithole. I guarantee they don't have anything. So I go in, and she's right behind me, and I'm looking around, and they had a whole section for like industrial. So there was all these weird, rare coil CDs, Current 93 shit, and I'm like, oh fuck. I was like, I'm in trouble because I mean, I have to look through this. So I start flipping and she's like, fuck. And I was like, okay. I was like, look, I'll be maybe 10 minutes. Can you just go outside just for 10 minutes and I'll be done? She comes back in after like 3 minutes and she's like, yeah, there's a group of guys outside harassing me. So you told me to go out there and I can't stand outside. So what now? And I was like, fuck. All right.
You need to be strong. You need to be independent.
Take one for the team, right?
Yeah, seriously.
I feel so bad because I sent her into that, but then I was like, fuck. I also feel bad because who knows how much shit I left in that store that I didn't buy. But
I can't believe you left, Mike. I can't believe you
had
left.
to. Yeah. There were still 2 more days on the trip. If it was the last day, I might have been like, all right, I can deal with this. But 2 more days of her being pissed off?
Yeah, I guess.
No.
Like, I don't mean to get personal, but are you married now? Are you married now?
No.
See,
No.
I love your stories, man, because you're just like, and this girlfriend there, and we're going with this girlfriend. And you're like, goddamn Lando Calrissian. I fucking love it. What's
All
it
the
like?
crazy shit about me are true.
I want to hijack this show. We're just going to get into locker room talk.
Yep.
I got my decanter. I'm putting on airs tonight.
Oh, man.
No, I've done the same thing. It's the same thing my dad did to my family several times where I've gone to, I had to go to scientific conferences to present. I was going with, either other grad students or colleagues. It's the same thing. It's like check into the hotel. In the old days, look at the yellow pages. Now, Google it.
The real Bible.
As soon as there's a break, in all the meeting stuff, they're like, oh, we should go out, and hobnob in, Gallery 3. And just like, you have fun with that. There's a record store 3 blocks that way. I'm going.
Yep.
I know we flew cross country to Arizona State for a dinosaur conference one time. And literally, no one else has even gotten their bags in the door of the hotel room. I'm already sitting on the bed with the fucking yellow page. I'm just like, sweet, there's one 3 blocks from here. They're just like, where are you going? I'm just like, I'm going to the record store. You can come or not. I don't care. Like, but do you even know where you're at? We just flew 3,000 fucking miles. I'm in Arizona. I'll figure it out. It's flat.
I just want to hang out with you more, Alan. I told you I was in love with your dad, but now I'm falling for you. I'm a total slut.
Professor Steele.
Professor. Here I was at the dinosaur convention. You don't hear that very often.
Phillip, the secret, I'm a bit of a home wrecker.
Yeah, I can see why, and it ain't this shit.
Don't have money for that shit. He's got 15 copies of Yag Pander's Ample Destruction. Come on, you think he's got money for?
I would have had another one last month, but the damn thing's for too much.
I thought I was putting on airs with a decanter, and you just said Yag Panzer.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's how you pronounce that?
Well, that's how it's always Jag for me, but I've heard Alan say Yag so many times it's kind of like absorbed into my brain. Is that?
Is it a soft J? Is that how it's pronounced? I don't know.
I don't know.
The
I don't think so.
softest of J. It's a tender. I also love when metal theologians.
I have a feeling it's one of those Kirith Ungol situations where it's supposed to be Kirith, and the band always messes it up and pronounces it Sirith themselves.
Well, is it Celtic or Celtic? Come on, Celtic Frost.
Metal theologian, when he says voivod, he pronounces it the French way. He's pronouncing it correctly, but it always cracks me up. Like, I just want to have him record it, and that will be my phone, right? Voivod. I'm like, fucking fantastic.
Well, it's like, is it zoetrope or etrope?
It's etrope. It's etrope. That as okay. I almost got into a physical fight in Detroit.
I bet you did. Fisticuffs over obscure Chicago thrash. There's no better kind. I don't know. My wife collects records too, not to the extent that I do, but there will be a record mailer that shows up, and I'm like, God damn it, it's one of hers. So I'm in that kind of situation.
Well, aren't you guys kind of in the same wheelhouse, more or less? I mean, it's kind of a win for you too if it's something good,
Well, I mean, we like a lot of the same stuff. Like, our tastes aren't completely parallel, but I mean, that would be creepy if that were the case. She likes a little bit more like kind of beat down, like metalcore, tough guy kind of stuff than I do. Although I like that stuff too. She likes like symphonic black metal more than I do. Like she's got a great taste in music. It's a bit different from mine. She doesn't quite spend as long in the record store. Like, I'll be in there almost an hour, and she's like, I've already got my pile. Will you make up your fucking mind? So like that's kind of where we differ. But
these are the Euroliner notes.
Well, let's go here with
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
something to follow up on with, like, what Myke said, like, what else would we be into? And like, yeah, there's a lot of things that just, don't appeal to any person. There's also a positive spin on that where some people would be into some, pretty, unpleasant shit if they didn't have something like record collecting. How many people, there's always the joke that, I couldn't afford to get into drugs because I wouldn't have any money for records.
Or gambling.
Having something, being really into music, can keep you out of some bad stuff. One of my buddies who watches a lot, Matt, up in Michigan, he always attributed, the fact that, he didn't get into a lot of, the local skinhead scene and that kind of shit because of listening to, like, power metal stuff, Halloween and all this. Is like, this shit's too happy. I don't need to be into that, ugly kind of shit. I'd rather listen to this, and it's very positive and, affirming. So yeah, being focused on something like record collecting, you've got, you're not going to throw away as much money on, or abuse substances, or just getting, you don't have the time or money to maybe get into nefarious things that would be much more detrimental for you than having a big stack of vinyl laying around.
See, I like to do them both.
Why not both? If you have the resources,
well,
some of us don't have the resources for both. Some of us have to choose. We got to choose the steak or the fish.
can't
Or
have
the
something
steak-em.
Or the steak-em.
I gotta
Steak-em.
get a wizard. Hold on. Someone wants to see my Rick Ross. All right, you shall have it.
Well, before you go, before you go, I'm gonna throw this out here.
Okay.
So when you're done peeing, it'll come back and you'll know what's
I'm
up.
not peeing. I'm getting a Rick Ross glass.
Oh, right on. Let's do this. How do you guys air traffic control or manage your collection? I mean, like Phillip he's into movie stuff. He's into that. We're all of us are into multiple genres. I mean, how do you justify what? Is it just your mood that dictates what you're buying? How do you file this in your brain? Let's start with Patrick.
Like, what exactly do you mean? Like, where? Like, how do I organize things?
How do you decide when you're going to go on like a binge? You're going to buy a bunch of shit. Are you just kind of? Is it your mood that sets the tone? Is it I'm going to focus on this? Is it
Yeah, it's pretty much pure impulse.
I'm not saying it right, but I do this, and it's like it all goes.
It's not methodical whatsoever with me. It's pure impulse. It's me looking at my phone really bored. Sometimes I'll have a couple in me. I'll be like, fuck, it's time to buy the Turn the Cross Upside Down 12-inch by Oz. Now's the time. I'm going to do that. I haven't done that yet. That's going to happen within the next couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Always time back.
I mean, with like grails and stuff, especially, I'm like, all right, I got to get this. Or I'll get a craving. Like, you get a craving for like, oh man, I could go for a Reese's peanut butter cup right now. I'm like, you know what? I need to look at some Nuclear Blast first pressing stuff that I don't own yet. Like, do I have that? I don't have that disharmonic orchestra. I need that. Like, I'll just get kind of weird little, and then occasionally I'll just be like, because I'm, always on my phone. Like, I'm far more addicted to social media and being on my phone than anything else. Like, that's detrimental to my brain. And I'll get notifications about like a new release or whatever. I'll cruise through distros and, read descriptions of stuff and be like, I'm going to buy that. That sounds good. So I don't really have a method to my madness. I really should probably figure out like some kind of budgetary thing or whatever. Like, I told myself this month I'm going to spend less money, and I've actually done pretty well with that. But I've found that when I do that, I'm like, okay, dude, you have a listening pile that's going to take you a literal fuck you. It's going to take you like a literal day to listen to everything. Like, don't stop buying stuff. You haven't even listened to stuff that you bought a month ago. I'll be like, all right, no, not spending money for a couple of weeks. And then like a secondary collection thing will pop in. If I can turn this way. Over here are my Nintendo, like on the wall there. That's all Nintendo games. And like, I'm not a big retro gamer fanatic. But I do have like a functioning Nintendo and Genesis and a few other systems. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to spend $85 on Phantasy Star 4 for some reason. Like, now that I'm not buying metal records for a couple of days, so it's definitely like a shopaholic kind of impulse that I think I got probably from my mom, so there's absolutely nothing to it other than impulsivity, really.
How about you, Myke?
Yeah, I don't even know if I can personally label it impulse. I wish I could, because that would imply that it wasn't all the time. You know, like with me, I'm constantly looking for shit to buy. I don't know why that is. I used to collect books. I used to collect DVDs, but then I got to a point where I was like, I can't collect everything. So something has to go. So I've sort of stopped with the books. I don't buy DVDs anymore. I just buy tons of fucking records. But there's never not a time where I'm online looking for shit and thinking about buying shit. You know?
Me too.
I wish that wasn't the case.
Oh yeah, I mean, me too. Like, I think the actual deciding to buy stuff is the impulsive part, but yeah, same.
The thrill of the hunt. It's the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, and the thing that sucks about being, I'll say our age, because we're all close to the same age. The thing that sucks about being our age and coming into this era of where everything is online, it just makes things so fucking easy. Like, I used to go to record stores every weekend and spend hours, but now I just realized a couple days ago I haven't been to my favorite record store in probably 2 or 3 months.
That's going to be dangerous when you do, because there's going to be so much fucking stuff there. You're going to be like, fuck.
But you know what sucks though is I'll go there, and this is such a douchey thing. I'll go there sometimes and be like, that record's 35. Like, I can get it for like 32 on Discogs. And I had to actually check myself the last time I did that. I was like, yeah, but
I've done
this
the same
is
shit.
this place open. Like, this asshole on Discogs doesn't necessarily need this money. The store kind of does. So yeah, I mean, it's not an impulse for me. It's just a constant thing. But I do wish I was still in that mode of always wanting to go and dig. That's what takes some push to get up off my couch and actually shower, wash my hair, brush my teeth, and then go to the, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Phillip.
Yeah.
I must have it all. I mean, you know, and one good thing about, you said we're pretty much the same age, but like, we've been collecting for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a pretty big collection, and people are like, how could you afford all these things? Like, how do you do? Well, because, man, like, when you started collecting in the 90s, everyone was, especially if you were a metalhead, people were giving their shit away.
Especially vinyl.
Oh my God. Yeah, completely. Tapes, vinyl. They were like, this is garbage. I don't want to be associated with the sexist, you know, misogynist, heavy metal garbage. And I'm like, yes, please. Right. So they'd give it to me. And I mean, so when I say I must own it all, like, there are gaps that are in my collection, and it haunts me. It haunts me. Like, it bothers me. And so, you know, I go out, and now those little gaps, I have to pay a fortune for them now. So I feel bad for, like, people that are just starting. I talked to Aaron about this before, and it's not a time. Like, my video store, the set that's on my show, people think it's like a set. No, I worked in a video store for like 7-8 years. And when that store, the VHS store, closed, they were going to throw it all in the garbage. I'm kind of like Indiana Jones. I'm like, man, that shit belongs in a museum.
You're like, you're all garbage. Give that stuff to me.
Yeah. How dare you? Like, this, I've always argued, I'm an archivist. You know what I mean? And I think that it's important to have these things. And I'm passing it on to my kids. And I don't know, Marty, I don't know what you're doing, but my son, I think I'm doing it right, man. Because he's like, can you put on some Lizzie Borden? I'm like, goddamn, son. Yes, I can.
Well, my kids like, can we listen to Halloween? Like, hell yeah. But you know, I bought him a boom box. I bought him actual CDs, and he just doesn't give a shit. There you go, everybody. There's the Rick Ross mug.
The Rick Ross drinking glass.
Is he wearing a Nasty Savage shirt? Wait, let me see it again.
Of course he is.
Amazing.
Yeah, you could get them at Burger King in an alternate timeline.
I worked at Burger King. We did not have that glass.
I know.
Not in your timeline, Alan.
Nope. I'm on the wrong timeline.
Dinosaur Hunter.
Alan, you were going to say something before I cut you off.
Oh no, it's good. No, for my take on this, my approach to collecting is all for a very, very long time has been buy what I like. If I like something, or I think there's a very good chance I like something, I will buy it. If I don't like it, or I don't think I'm going to care for it, I don't. So I don't have Philip's same issue of the I must have it all. I did once upon a time, but I got to a point where I'd look at like discography, like, yes, I've got every album by this band, but 3 of these suck, and they're just sitting here taking up space. I could trade or sell those and get something else that doesn't suck. And that's always been my approach is if I have a physical copy of it, it means I enjoy it. Some things I'm going to like more than others, of course, but I'm not going to buy things just because, it's the limited edition and, there's only going to be 60 of them printed and I've got to hop on Bandcamp and FOMO, drive me to try to get one. I'm not going to buy it just because it's rare or just because it's the, cool hipster cult, whatever kind of thing to get. I buy what I like. And it also helps then with, if I have to spend a little more for something, it's like, well, hey, I at least I like it. I'm going to enjoy it. So that's been my general approach. There's, I have, the want list of things that I keep an eye out for, those searches that are programmed into eBay and Discogs to send me updates. But, like Phillip said too, we've all been at this for a long time. The list gets shorter and shorter. There's always new stuff to discover. There's always new stuff coming out. But and that's what I was going to say before with Mike's comment. I'm kind of the same way where over time, I don't have that same urge to go dig as much as I used to. But some of that probably is, I don't have to as much. I could drive an hour to a record store and spend 2 hours digging through it and find nothing but, another goddamn Molly Hatchet album. Or I can just look it up on Discogs. And
you don't want to flirt with disaster,
not go, I don't have to dig to find it. It's gotten easier. But there's also, when you've spent decades digging through this stuff like we all have, it does get tiring at a certain point because you do know that 99% of the time when you go dig, you're not going to find shit. Especially, as that list of things you want gets shorter, the odds of you hitting something are lower. And as you get into more obscure and more underground stuff, it's just not going to turn up. I can't go to one of the record stores downtown this weekend and find a rare new wave of British heavy metal single. It is never going to happen. And that does take a little bit of the, incentive away from wanting to go dig. There's on any given day, you could find something cool. And I do try to go look periodically. And sometimes I find some cool stuff and I'm happy for it. But, some things you're just not going to find that way. Again, I like to collect singles quite a bit for different genres, and stores never carry those damn things. You just don't find it, and so I get the mentality of feeling like you don't want to dig as much. It is easier to look for it other ways, but regardless of what it is, if I'm looking for it, it's because I like it, or I'm pretty damn sure that I'm going to like it.
Alan, dinosaur hunting has made you jaded.
Well, in a way, it's almost like it is like dinosaur hunting in a way, Phillip. You spend a shitload of time wandering around finding nothing to eventually, hopefully, find that one really cool thing.
Can't you just be happy when you find another copy of Theater of Pain and then reevaluate and say, I really like We Need a Lover Tonight. I never realized it. But I know you like The Purge and shit like that, but I'm like, oh man, some of those there's gold. There's gold in these hills. It just helps you remember what you have or what you don't have.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, it can still be fun, but those anybody who's in this long enough, you're going to make some amazing finds. When you're out digging, whether online or in person. We've all got those cool, amazing items that we found, in the dollar bin or whatever. But those do get fewer and farther apart as time goes by too. More people get wise to what things are worth. And
Oh yeah, it's ruined now. It's
there
completely...
are fewer copies out there in the wild to be found for most things.
I gotta say though, man, it's the ghost of those killer finds that keeps me wanting to go. Like I said,
Sure.
the thrill of the hunt. And if I go to a record store and I find one thing, I'll go through that whole fucking thing. I'll go through every bin if I got time. And I still love the thrill of the hunt. I mean, there's this record store 2 hours south of us called Vertigo Records, and they've got segregated used section in like the metal, and they got used section in the hardcore, and both for vinyl and CD. And then I don't even go look at the new shit. I just go through the used stuff because that's where you get the cheap shit. I mean, I got that Doom Watch LP for like $5.
Love that record.
I always had it on tape from back in the day when it came out, and then getting it on record for $5, hardly ever played. It's just like, I'm looking through everything,
A symphony of decadence. It's a great
Symphony of
record.
Decadence. Yep. And the thing for me is with this collecting stuff is I'm very much what I'm into. What I'm into is it's like it reinvigorates me to go hunting online and buying shit. I for many months last year I was in a power metal phase, and
Oh yes, you were.
oh yes, I was. And I'll tell you what, dude, I bought probably 15 Rhapsody of Fire CDs. I've listened to 4 of them. Okay. But they're here if I ever want to listen to them. They just like when you all of a sudden your mind is set on one band, all these deals start coming out of the woodwork and these lots on eBay and this. I'm like, fuck, I've got them all except for maybe 2. But I'm just like, do I need this much fucking Rhapsody? This is a fucking problem.
You're in an alleyway with a Discman listening to Pegasus.
Hey, Rick Contreras in the chat sent me a Pegasus CD here not too long ago. And it's just, it keeps it fun. And I was on an industrial kick. One night I ordered probably 15 industrial CDs because it's a genre I've always liked, but I've always been really just like the bigger bands and trying to find some of the older, some of the more underground stuff. And man, it's been fun. It's been a fun thing to go through. And now I've got like a huge stack of industrial shit to listen to when I'm in the mood for it again. It's like, for me, I love having all this stuff that when I'm in the mood, just, get on the smoking jacket and go sit down with the pipe and sit and listen to music for fun. But it just seems like there's so much new shit. It takes over the enjoyment of, I've got probably 200 records. I mean, I think probably a lot of us here, I could be wrong. I've got 200 records from the last year or so that I still haven't spun yet between CDs and LPs. I mean, people are probably like, holy fuck, that's a problem.
We all have that.
Yeah, we all have it. And it's like, it doesn't mean I'm happy I have it, but I haven't gotten to it yet. And when I do get to it, I'm probably not going to invest the time in it that I should, and that to me is a problem. That's the main problem.
That's the thing. Like, I listen to everything I buy right after I get it. Because my process is very serious.
Here we go. This is the dirt we want, the process.
No, I buy CDs instead of using Spotify or something like that. I rip them to Dropbox to listen to at work or listen to while I'm driving instead of YouTube Music or Spotify. That's what I do. I stream my own stuff that I could easily download or just stream, but it's something I physically own. But oh, I see that. Okay. All right. Noted, Alan. Thank you. I didn't realize you were directly marketing that towards me until
he's
now.
enabling. He's enabler.
Wait, let me find a good. All right. So anyway, so I do listen to everything quickly, but then it just gets filed. And that's the thing is like, I think it's the time to actually digest and appreciate stuff. And I think those of us that are grown ass men and kind of like dealing with our daily lives and stuff, I think compensate for our lack of time to like enjoy music by purchasing it, not to get too doomer about it or whatever, but I feel like I want to envelop myself in music as much as I can. And sometimes I can't be physically listening to it because I'm too busy adulting, as the kids say. So I'm quickly looking at my phone. I'm like, oh man, well, I don't have that creator record on that particular format. I have it on 2 others, but it's out of the dark into the light, like fucking, I'll get a weird Polish bootleg tape of that for some reason. Sick. Like whatever.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same thing as Pat with the whole listening to something immediately after I buy it. That never happens for me.
Neither.
The only thing that keeps things on track is I have a much worse process than Pat. I have a huge Word doc that I put every single album, CD, record, whatever that I buy, and anything I haven't listened to, I'll highlight it in a certain color. So I know all I gotta do is pull up my fucking Word doc. I'm like, all right, let me scroll through here. I don't like to leave records on the floor, and I'm super weird about things being in alphabetical order. So all of my records are in alphabetical order, and then they're in order by chronological release. So when I get something, it has to go on the shelf. So I have to have a way to figure out what I haven't listened to yet, because I don't have the not listened to pile. I may have like a small pile that's the not shelved in the proper place.
Whoa. Okay, so you take all your the shit you haven't listened to, you file in your main rack, and you just go off the data sheet.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't hang with that. That right there kind of throws me into a little bit of a tailspin there. I get it. It's neat and orderly, and power to your fucking organization. But man,
Marty. The main reason I have that document is because I am terrible about buying records 2-3 times over and forgetting that I have it at home already. So I have to put everything on a document. And then I started getting this idea of, okay, well, how am I going to keep track of, one, what I haven't listened to yet, and two, what I haven't shown in like a YouTube video yet. So I'll just highlight that shit, and that makes it easier for me to go back to it later.
Let me tell you a little story here. During my industrial phase one night, I was on the Discogs, drunk off my ass. It was late at night. I realized that, Revolting Cock's Big Sexy Land. I only have that on tape. I definitely want the vinyl of that. Well, I bought the vinyl, and about the same day difference, Big Sexy Land on vinyl arrived. I'm like, oh, cool. And then the next day after that, Big Sexy Land arrived on CD. I didn't remember buying the CD. I'm like, how in the fuck did I do this? But anyway,
if I may be so bold to ask a question on your show, I'm very curious as to what album keeps showing up. You keep buying and you keep thinking, I don't have this. I got to get this. And you end up with 4 or 5. Because for me, Atrophy records are growing. I've never bought an Atrophy record, but I have a shitload of them.
If you have Socialized Hate on vinyl, I would like to maybe buy one of those off of you.
Okay, well,
if you have a spare.
Listen, they're growing. It's just add water.
Okay, cool.
But also TKO Below the Belt. I don't know if you're familiar with that record. I have like 5 of those. I don't know how. Like, I know I have a little bit of a drinking problem. I've got it under control. All right. But not when it comes to TKO. So what is the record that keeps showing up that you keep buying?
I will jump in here and say that there is a record. There's a record that I hate so much. I've gotten rid of it 4 fucking times, and it has returned to my collection 4 times. And that would be Gorefest's Erase. Which is a terrible album. And every time I get rid of it. Good. Oh, and another one is Discharge is the fucking glam shit album.
Cracked the other week?
Yeah, the one I busted. That's the 3rd album of those that I've had. It just keeps coming back, dude.
I wanted that. When you did that, just to be a dickhead, I wanted that record.
It's shit. You didn't want that record. I got friends that love that record. I'm like, what the fuck are you listening to?
I have terrible taste, man. I have terrible taste.
I think Chromie's actually the only guy that's allowed to like that record, like unironically.
I'm not being ironic.
Because I feel like every 21-year-old kid that's just getting into D-beat that like started rocking the shoestring headband like the Japanese bands and has the like half blonde, half black hair. It's like, oh yeah, I totally get it. I totally get what they were doing. It's brilliant. It's like, no, they were trying to be a glam rock band and failing miserably. Please stop.
Yeah.
But Pat, I didn't even know what D-beat was until about like 3 months ago when I started talking to Eric. I'm like, what the fuck is D-beat? Oh, I thought it was just fast punk. Right? I didn't have a goddamn clue about all this shit.
Well, it's a drum beat,
Yeah.
That's all. But to sort of answer your question, this is really sad. I've gone on this deep dive of like early 90s, like 91 through 92 thrash. Not the brutal stuff like Demolition Hammer and Sadist, but the stuff that was kind of trying to make thrash commercial or like progress it.
Like Power Mad?
Power Mad were just straightforward. I was thinking more like Cyclone Temple, Forced Entry,
Wrathchild America. Yeah.
All that stuff I've been into, and I've purchased Mordred in this life twice in the past month and a half.
I like the first Mordred album.
The first Mordred's good.
Yeah.
And actually in this life is like very forward thinking. It's just, there's so much slap bass on it. Like I don't need to hear Testament and the Seinfeld theme at the same time. Like I just can't I can't deal with it. But like that, there's a lot of good stuff about that record, but like I just mostly wanted to get it to talk about it, like on the video that I'm making. And I ordered it from one Discogs seller and he was taking too long. And like you can find that shit on tape for like $5. So I just bought another copy and I've had it 2 or 3 times before. So yeah, Mordred in this life I've owned a lot.
Well, see, I don't have that problem anymore because I have my documents. So you guys were laughing at me a minute ago.
I'm blown away by how clinical and organized it is. I mean, if you went and looked into my main listening room right now, it looks like a couple hobos fucked and fought, and then on a pile of CDs and records. It's just like stupid. It's stupid.
Okay,
the rest of my house is a fucking wreck. House,
it's not.
Right? No, it is. Not. The rest of my house is an absolute wreck. But if you go into the music room, it's pristine. Like even my cat, when she goes in there, like tiptoeing around, she doesn't touch shit. And if she sees me, she runs out. Everywhere else in the house is her domain. Record room, she knows better.
One of these days, she's gonna get pissed at you and put a fucking squirt of piss up your fucking collection, and you're gonna be like, "Damn it!"
Did you do that? She would never do something like that.
What? Wait a minute. My copy of Bathory wasn't a yellow goat cover. What happened? Bad game. Myke, I'll see your Word document and I will raise you a Excel spreadsheet with 7 pages and over 4,500 rows.
I freeball it, bitches. I freeball it.
Matrix printer.
You know what, Alan? The only reason I didn't use Excel is because it's impossible to export that to your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it on Word doc because I have it. I have all of this shit on my phone. So when I go record shopping, I just go here and I just scroll and see what I have.
Yep. I started the spreadsheet before I had a smartphone of any type. So that's, and I wanted something where I could sort and filter, because I actually started the spreadsheet when I was heavily doing like tape and CDR trading, and people were constantly wanting, oh, well, send me your list.
Yeah.
Well, my list is 3,000 titles long. You don't want to see all of it. It's like, I just want death metal. It's like, okay, so, it'd be like, add another column for, genre. Now I can filter by death metal, and here's the fucking death metal title.
That's smart. That's really smart.
It helped a lot then, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not very portable, and, it's gotten very unwieldy over time, but yeah.
I learned my collecting on the streets. You guys are too organized. That's why I buy 2 Revolting Cox albums, the same album twice in one day.
You need to get TKO. I got a few to sell you. Listen, Alan, I held this up earlier because I wanted to give you some hope. And fuck you guys getting on with your Rush fuck sucks bullshit.
All right. I like Rush. Fuck Rush.
All right.
Rules.
Okay. All right, I'm just used to the hostility. Forgive me. I just came on with my spikes out. All I'm just going to say is I found this. Yeah, thank you, guys. I found my friend here. I got this for like a song, okay? And this is the Moon Records version.
Original.
It's the original. And I found it. Is that an original as well?
No.
Oh, Alan.
No, mine was much later.
I love being
but it's a good record.
Well, what I'm saying is, and I had no idea at the time. I was kind of a Rush poser, and it wasn't that long ago, and I was complaining. I'm like, man, I want the pink cover because that's what it's known for. And a friend of mine was like, "Man, you got the red cover?" He's like, "Does it say Moon Records?" I'm like, "I don't know. Fuck it, I'll check it out." And sure enough, and man, just hunting. So they're out there, and I've got tons of comics like that too. People like their older brother dies or something, they throw it out at a flea market. We know how this works, right? But I mean, I've still found gold, especially in Labrador. You still find that shit.
Oh yeah. There is always something out there to find. You're absolutely right, Phillip. And but yes, I'll admit I've gotten a little too jaded at times about not wanting to dig. There is stuff out there for sure, and if you keep digging, you will hit it. I've gone through stretches. They're just you spend 4 hours at a record show and you find absolutely nothing, no matter how many boxes you go through, and you multiply
that's when I come home with a Fleetwood Mac album.
You multiply it by 3 years, and you start to sour a little bit on the idea of going to another box of Arlo Guthrie 7 inches.
Yeah, Joan Baez left and right. I went to a flea market and record shopped for the first time in ever with my family like over a month ago, and I guess it's my newfound love for. Well, I've always been a Priest fan, but there's a few important Priest records I don't own. On point of entry, I got myself a Y&T LP, the first Venomous Concept on CD, a Rollins band.
That's a weird find in a fucking flea market.
Yeah, I spent like $50. I got like a pile of CDs like this and a Y&T and Judas Priest LPs. I'm like, this was good. This was fruitful. I'm happy, Didn't find some like the first pressing of like the Fuckheads by Gauze or something, but that's fine,
That's right, Aaron. Us from the streets record collectors, we got to keep it real.
Yep.
So, okay, let's move on to. We've already kind of touched on this, but ways that collecting has been a positive thing for us. We can maybe get a little more into it if you'd like, Patrick. You can get started on that.
Oh, sure. I mean, I hope that like nothing I've been saying has been really negative. Like, this is my life, like what's his name from Return of the Living Dead? Suicide, is that his name? I don't remember.
Yeah,
the punker guy. What do you think? This is a fucking costume? This is a way of life. I mean,
I just heard about John Bon Jovi singing "It's My Life."
Same deal. Sorry. Same guy, actually. Believe it or not. No, but yeah. I mean, I could think of one time like things were negative, and like a girl and I had a long-term relationship with like broke up, and it wasn't just because I was really into records. It's because we had none of the same interests whatsoever. But other than that, like I was very involved with just music, like heavy music, loud music, and it kind of ran the gamut from hardcore into metal. And I've been kind of sustaining my passion for it since. Like, I make decent money, I pay the bills and all that kind of stuff. And this is what instead of being a middle-aged guy that has a fucking Porsche or a Tesla or whatever, I have what's behind me instead. And I have been doing this for a long time. I have a community, obviously, like this is an example of that. It's
That's
great.
a big thing for me too.
About this stuff,
yeah.
It's very enriching to my life. It's my love of art and culture. So yeah, and I keep thinking to myself, like, I do want to figure out some kind of end game. Like I might try to open some sort of business that involves selling records, or I might just do an online distro. Not that there isn't already a wealth of those in existence already, but it might be fun to do.
It's a tough slog. The fun, never wait. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably offer me some sage advice, I'm sure. I haven't figured out yet what exactly I'm going to do, whether it's brick and mortar or whatever, but like, and my kid's too young for me to like make a judgment call on whether or not he's going to like anything that I like. I have seen a 5-year-old running around my house yelling the chorus to Turbo Lover lately, which is a little off-putting. But
it's awesome.
That's good parenting. Rad. That's good parenting right there.
Parenting. Kid loves Twisted Sister too, so but other than that, it's like the Encanto soundtrack nonstop, more so whatever. But I mean, way more bad than, or way more I meant to say way more good than bad. It does help that like my better half and I are into the same shit, so you know, like we get to talk tunes all the time, which was really cool. So yeah, you know.
Awesome. And before we move on, I just want to say the 114 people that are watching us, I mean, this is kind of a record, and thanks for joining us tonight. It's awesome. Awesome that y'all showed up.
I feel like Elizabeth
Myke.
Taylor. I'm
You're up,
drinking
Myke.
like her.
How's it been good for you?
So how collecting has been good for me. I mean, I got into music and the type of music I'm into mainly to just feel less weird. You know, when I was in high school, you know, I was this weird black kid in this super small southern town where the Klan was still active and everybody at my school thought I was a freak. And, you know, and I found these punk rock albums and, you know, looked through the liner notes and I'm like, oh, this motherfucker, I'm not that weird. This guy's fucking weird. This is great. You know, so I buy more and more and just amass this collection of tons of people that are just as weird, if not more weird than me, you know, and then I get into metal and I'm like, okay, this asshole with this ridiculously long hair and these tight jeans. Oh yeah, he's a fucking weirdo. This is my kind of shit, you know? And I think that every time I bought something, at least at that age, every time I bought something and flipped through the liner notes and just saw pictures of these guys that to me were just as big of outcasts, but they were doing something super fucking cool. It just made me feel like less of a fucking weirdo. You know what I mean?
Right
And
on.
I mean, even being at the age that I am now, I still kind of feel like that, you know? Even if I'm buying a record by artists that are way younger than me, I still feel like that. I'm like, oh man, this is great. Look at this guy. Because I didn't have that kind of shit when I was, you know, when I was super young. I didn't have anybody to like really, really look up to. So yeah, I mean, I can't really think of a lot of negative impact that collecting has had on my life either, kind of like what Pat just said. But I don't have the luxury of having, I've never dated anyone that's been into the same kind of music.
Me either, ever.
Yeah. I mean, I've never dated someone that was like, oh my God, this record collection is amazing. Never.
No.
You know, I don't even know what I would do if that happened, especially at my age. I'd be like, oh shit, all right, like,
You probably marry him.
or I'd probably just assume that I'm dead because it can't be real.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been mostly positive. You know, I dump most of my money into my record collection, and I don't feel terrible about it. You know, when I walk into that room and I'm like, this is what I've been collecting for the past 30 something years, I don't feel so bad about it.
Autumn would like it.
Yeah, there is plenty of David Tibet on my shelf. You know, and that is another positive that's come from record collecting. You know, I've met so many fucking cool people through record collecting. I mean, you guys obviously, but I mean, I've also met other artists, and some of my best friends that I've had for the past 20 years are other dumbass record collectors.
Absolutely, man.
Or collectors of other things, but just collectors of things. You know,
Yep.
I feel like I just attract to those kind of people.
Sure. Yep. How about you, Phillip?
Well, it's like you're all saying, it's a lighthouse in the storm, right? You find people, and that's the most important thing. And now, because of where I live, and because of my little show and stuff like that, there's a younger generation, because I do teach kids art as well. That's one of the things that I do on the side there. Yeah. And a lot of the kids, they're exposed to a lot of stuff that they would never be exposed to normally. And some of them don't like it. Some of them are not into it at all. And that's perfectly fine. And they're getting me into it as well, which is pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm older. You know what I mean? And I'm not as open-minded as a lot of you guys, because I love the classics. I got to be honest with you guys. I've tried with some of the new stuff. I went out, I bought the records from Amazon, you know what I mean? Or I went to the record stores and I'm like, this is what, you know, this is going to be good for the show, and I should talk about these bands, but it's bullshit. It's not me. Mm-hmm. It's really not me. I've tried, you know what I mean? But some of these kids will, you know, they get me into some of this stuff, and I think that it's pretty cool. But I love the fact that they're, you know, having this big VHS collection, having this record collection, and seriously, like, unironically, or, you know, like, making these kids mixtapes. I was like, check this shit out, man. That is the most rewarding thing in the world to me.
Turning a kid on to Kiss Asylum, that warms the heart.
Again, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I
No.
mean? And then this kid will say, hey, check this out. And I love that. I think that's fantastic because you know, it keeps me on. I'm a big kid anyway. I think we all are. I mean, I'm just listening to you guys. Can you imagine, like, our fathers, like, even though my dad was a big record collector, he was still a man. You know what I mean? Like, he came home, he had a drink and shit, you know, and he watched the news and shit. Like, not me, man. I was like, did you see the new Lando Calrissian figure that's coming out, or the new Star Wars Black Series? And my wife is like, why? Why is this happening? You know, I'm like, right? And
she knew the mission was dangerous when she accepted it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's like marrying a cop. You know what you're getting. Sometimes I gotta go, you know.
Yep. Alan?
Yeah, in terms of positive influences,
I gotta pee.
I didn't think about it at the time, growing up, high school and college age and stuff. But when you have a hobby you're very focused on, it does force you to do certain things that end up being good habits to develop. It forces you to think about money. And if I want to buy that Candlemass CD at the store, I can't go blow a bunch of money on beer this weekend. I have to make a choice here because I don't have enough for both. Okay, I'll wait and buy the Candlemass CD. Or as I started looking at harder to get vinyl, where they have to do it for mail orders. Like, okay, this guy's got this record, but it's $40. I need more money. Let's go work and earn it. Let's put in some more time. Let's wash a few more dishes and flip a few more burgers and get some overtime. Just in terms of planning and thinking about what you're going to do with your money, how you're going to afford things. It's just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and earn the money so that I can buy the records I want. And those, end up being good habits long term. I feel like there's one other point I was going to make along this line, and now it's kind of slipping my mind. Getting to meet with other people and stuff is always cool. Is also something that as a positive thing. It always gave me something to look forward to. We all go through our ups and downs. I'm no different. And even when I've gone through shitty years and things are not working out well, there's still, hey, the past 3 weeks have sucked, but yeah, there's going to be a cool record showing up in the mailbox in a week or so. Thanks. Thanks, Autumn. But or this whole week, class has absolutely sucked. But Friday afternoon, I can walk down to the record store and talk with Jim behind the counter for a little bit, and maybe there'll be a decent used CD I can pick up. It was always something hopeful to look forward to with it, to kind of keep you up even when other things are going bad. And yeah, just reinforcing or forcing you to develop some good habits about how you're going to take care of stuff, how you're going to organize stuff. It's little things, but they've helped out in lots of other aspects of life too. So yeah, there's and like I talked about earlier, just always having something to focus on and do, so that you're not sitting around bored thinking like okay, what conspiracy theory cult can I find today to buy into on the internet? Just like, fuck that. What's on Discogs? Has anybody listed that White Knight album yet? Because god damn it, I still need a copy. Spoiler alert, they have.
Lester Maddox record.
I need the second Lester Maddox record. I've got the first, but yeah, the second one is still it eludes me.
I knew I'd get you excited, Professor. I knew it. Let me be the bad guy here for a second. Do I have to be sleazy here? Everyone's talking about the nobility of it and all this sort of shit. Being into this stuff, we're acting like we're underdogs and all that sort of shit. Has this ever worked to your advantage? I mean, like in the sleaze department, where like girls are like, "Oh God, he's so passionate about things and so knowledgeable."
No,
Not really. No.
It's good for mood
What?
setting. Like if I brought someone back, I think it's more so they would be fascinated by the fact that I'm fascinated by music, but they're absolutely not impressed by my music collection. They might be slightly impressed by my musical knowledge because that's the only thing I have going for me. But if they're not going to walk into the record room and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. But if I'm like, oh, have a seat, I got some wine, let me grab this obscure piano record, they might think that that's cool. Other than that,
sure,
nah, I wish.
My girlfriend, my wife, but she was my girlfriend at the time. She came back to my apartment one time late night, and this was early on in the relationship, and she found me on the floor in the corner, bawling my eyes out, listening to. I drank 17 cans of Yankee Jim Ice.
Please say Stargazer.
No, I was listening to Thin Lizzy, Wild One, and I was just bawling my eyes out. And I think
It's appropriate.
I've never really confirmed it with her. I think that was the moment that I won her heart.
That was until you pissed your pants, and then it was like, oh.
This has happened several times, but yeah, no, like I think, come on, oh yeah, because we haven't been there, right? I mean that, but yeah, no, I there's been times where people have, it's not been a nerdy thing, and it's not been an outsider culture thing, and people were like, Jesus Christ, man, like, dude, you've got a hell of a collection, and you're really knowledgeable about this shit. And hey, do you want to join us for trivia night and shit? Like garbage like that, and you're like, yeah, fuck it, why not? And, you know, when you're a single guy like Lando Calrissian there, right? You know what I mean? Like it works to your advantage. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know, Phillip. All I'm going to say is that I learned pretty fast in college that if I wanted to have sex, I had to learn how to stop headbanging and love the Pink Floyd.
Yeah, well, you know.
And Myke, you're more Han Solo to me. Just saying, you're more of a Han Solo type.
I think my knowledge and stuff maybe impressed my wife, but she was also just as knowledgeable. I think it was just a good fit. Like we met at a bar and she was like, oh, you're into pro wrestling? I'm like, yeah, I like pro wrestling. Like, you into hardcore? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I used to do pro wrestling on an amateur level, and I came out to Firestorm by Earth Crisis. This was my entry music. And I was like, so what's your number? And like, she actually asked me for my number.
See what I mean?
Yeah. It does work for some folks. One of my best friends, he met his wife on campus because he saw her. She was wearing a King Diamond shirt, and he was just like, "Hi there, let's talk."
You guys make me feel like a fucking loser, man. You're like, oh, just go out and talk about music, and you'll find women. It hasn't happened. It hasn't fucking happened. So what else is wrong with me, Phillip?
I wish I could say it was my body that turned the women on, but that's not the case either. So
the important thing, Myke, is that you're not upset about it.
Hey, Glenn, my wife is a huge Duran Duran fan. Followed them around for one tour even. I mean, it's crazy. Anyway,
I'm gonna go make a margarita.
In that department, the only thing that works is The Cure, and luckily, like, that's my favorite band, so I can talk about that band for fucking hours. But I mean, most of them are not going to get past the fact that I'm wearing some stupid shirt that they can't read what the fuck it says. So The Cure is not even going to come up in conversation typically. But
luckily enough, I have a mixtape that has Depeche Mode and Wasp.
That'll do it. I mean, plus, at the end of the day, anyone getting into record collecting, CD collecting to somehow get a social life when it comes to dating, dude, you're so far in the wrong end of the fucking store.
100%, I agree. Yeah, you're right. But it's about your passion and your charisma, and if you can, like, if you kind of show that off, and you're like, listen, I know I'm unhinged, I know I'm a bit of an idiot, I'm a man child, but come with me, Wendy, let's fly. They love that shit. They love it. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it don't. But I'm a happily married guy. And my wife has a Thin Lizzy back patch right now. So that's right on.
Nice.
Right on.
Which Thin Lizzy back patch? Just the logo or a cover?
Just the logo. Although she has my original Thunder and Lightning t-shirt. Because I'm a big t-shirt collector too.
That's true.
Huge t-shirt. But the old school shirts. Do you know, with these new shirts, and I see every one of us, Alan, Professor, what's going on? Where's your metal shirts tonight?
My medals, they went the way of eBay about 4 years ago. Most of my metal shirts,
I have a problem. I have a problem with these shirts today. I don't like the feel of them. I don't like the oversized prints. I don't like it. I don't like 100%. I like 50-50. I like it blousy. I like it.
My skin has a weird reaction to 50-50. It makes me stink. I don't know what it is. The polyester, I must have a polyester allergy or something. I don't know. It's weird. Not that the world wanted to hear that right now, but I've got plenty of other things that also make me stink. Polyester is just one on the list.
There is nothing like I did a comparison of my old T-shirts of my Massacre, the new school Massacre shirt that I had, and the one that I had from when I was a kid, and it's so much smaller, but the quality, and it hasn't faded at all. Now, my mother was a good mother. She hand washed all my things and hung them air dry. You can see, guys, why I am the way I am. Like, I grew up in a loving, supportive, middle-class home, so naturally I'm going to have fucking issues. But like the newer school shirts that I have are shit. Like, they're just fading away and they're garbage, and then they get like all, what do they call it, bacon necked and shit. But the old school ones, man,
a lot of it's going to that direct to garment printing too. The giant printing digital. It's like a giant computer printer that prints the image on. It's like a big thing. This is a screen print, but most of it's going to the computer digital shit.
Hates it.
Oh, I was going to say one thing. The good thing for me is with this music is everybody's kind of already said this, and it's actually been really huge for me is the friends I've made. Not only just, I've got my friends here in town that are great friends, brothers to the end, known them forever, in bands with them, all that stuff. But, from a guy up here in Northern Michigan that started a little zine, I didn't expect to do anything, just reach out from my little dark, quiet corner of the world, and people heard it, and I got to know a lot of people over the years, and I made a lot of great friends that I still talk to on the phone to this day or on the internet. Me and Alan met on the old Metal Maniacs board and the old Lapland board back in the day, and it wasn't until the pandemic that we reconnected, and here we are every week hanging out together, and the friendships and all you guys. It's life enriching to have a bunch of people that after growing up with people you don't connect with or dating people you don't connect with musically, they actually have a community out there, and it's been really, really fucking awesome. And the YouTube community has been awesome, more or less.
Yeah.
A lot of great people, a lot of cool stuff. I do find that as an older guy, Phil, you kind of mentioned that you try to jump into the new stuff and it's just not the same and you don't like it as much. I sometimes fall to the buzz that, all a bunch of people showing off a new album that they're all talking about how great it is. And I'm like, okay, fuck it, I'll buy it. And I'm not usually as connected with it. Maybe that's just me being jaded. I don't know. But, everybody's got their own taste, and I'm sure we've steered people in the wrong direction too. But, everybody hears the music differently. And that's why, collecting is a personal pursuit. It's cool when friends come over for the first time and they look like, holy shit, I've never seen so many CDs. That ego trip that you get, like, yeah. I don't have a Porsche or a Lamborghini, but let's be real, I couldn't fit in one of those motherfuckers if I did. And if I did, I couldn't get out of it.
Well, we're proud of it. Why do we have to act like we're like so humble about it? It's like, God damn, I worked my whole life to build this shit up.
Yeah.
So fuck you. Like, you know what I mean? Thank you, man, that you're showing interest in it, because I give a shit about this.
Yeah.
Right? It's, it's my world. And, our shows that we have reflect that. It's what we love, and we're not doing it because we're getting paid.
No.
You know what I mean? What are you, 3,000 for you, Mr. Big Shot?
I've hit 3,000 3 times this week.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But no, we just do it because we love it and we just want to share it. You know what I mean? And for me, it's like, if my kids, like, I've been saving each one, and I'm old school. I saved them on DVD. So it's like, man, this is your old man. This is what I was into. So it's not just going to be some sort of like foreign collection that you're going to inherit. There is a story behind this, right? And there's a reason why I love this, and there's a reason. It's not because it's a sickness. It's part of our culture. It's who we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is very much part of this culture too. The black shirts, the big record collections, it really is part of the culture. And that's not a bad thing to say. That's a good thing.
I never take it for granted. You know, it's like you see me and you're like, oh, geez, you know, you're like a super nerd. You love all the Star Wars stuff and all this.
So do I.
And you,
So
and you
does
see all the
everybody.
dioramas that I make for the show and stuff like that. And this is the very first thing that I ever collected. This is R2D2 that my grandmother bought me. It's told no stickers. It's completely.
Does it say you peeled off the stickers?
Yeah, it's yellow too. Like there's no
Yeah.
chrome anymore. It's completely like margarine now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's where it started. That's where I started to love things. And all of us here are lovers of things.
Things are cool.
And you know, it's like when someone did you ever get excited when someone invited you over to their house? Man, check out my MP3 collection.
Right.
I was early on this whole internet thing, especially when SoulSeek was big early on. I don't
know where my portable hard drive is.
Yeah, talking to people online. Yeah, I've got 3,000 albums. I'm like, oh, that's killer. And then further in the conversation, you realize it's on a hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, so you really don't. You have ones and zeros. Yeah, it's not the same. I mean, where does digital have its place? Does digital have a place in this? Go ahead, Pat.
I was going to say, at this point, I'm acquiring albums, physical media, at the same rate I used to download in the SoulSeek days almost. I think about that almost daily. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. You really are, like, arrivals and stuff. Like, maybe not quite as much, but not too far off. But at least it's like something tangible, for what it's worth.
Yep. So where does digital sit in all this?
Nothing wrong with it.
Not against it.
Not against it.
Not at all. I mean, I can't say it's not for me. I mean, shit, when I'm here working on the show, I'll put on, something that's in the background that I don't have to flip the record over, or I'm too goddamn lazy, or I'm like, I want to take care of this shit a little bit more. No, I don't mind it at all. And sometimes I want to seek out, like if Pat does a show and I'm listening to it, I'm like, what is this fucking weirdo shit that he's talking about? Or, you know what I mean? Like, no, but it's great for me because I'll look at it and I'm like, hey, this shit's not bad. You know what I mean? Or like, nah, it's not for me at all. You know what I mean? I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of back and forth on digital. Because ever since I was in like 9th, 10th grade, I've had friends in bands, and I know how it goes. I don't want to get on my Lars Ulrich type shit, but it kind of sucks when you know for a fact that people are not paying for your friend's band stuff, or because you being around them and knowing them, how much work they put into it, and then you have some dude that's just like, oh yeah, I just I downloaded it off LimeWire, or I downloaded it off SoulSeek, or I just listened to it on Bandcamp, and that's cool, but I personally, I'm not judging anyone else, but I personally just kind of feel like an asshole. If I find something that I really like and it's for sale, I want to support that person. I just feel like a dick if I don't. If I'm constantly listening to it and I don't pull the trigger, I just kind of feel like an asshole.
Mike, that's a great thing to bring up. When I was heavy into SoulSeek, I was downloading like 10 albums a night, and I still probably have shit on my hard drive that I've never listened to. But this was early on when I started Bindrune. Me and my buddy Scott started it, and the Celestial album popped up on there, Desolate North. I'm like, oh, cool, man. Someone's got Desolate North on here. Awesome. Great. And then a week later, 10 people did. Mm-hmm. Then a week after that, 20 people did. And then I'm looking at my basement filled with CDs, and they're not fucking selling. And I'm like, oh, I get it. I get the problem. And it was that moment on, I stopped. I have not downloaded. I use Bandcamp. And actually, Spotify is getting a lot of flack right now. I love fucking Spotify. It's great to put it on the car. Like when you guys are talking about a record, I dial it up on there and listen to it while I'm doing the dishes or cooking dinner. I mean, for that purpose, but collecting that, for that purpose, it works good for me. But collecting digital files, I'm starting to hear a little bit for shit that I missed out on.
Excuse me.
The name your own price type stuff. I'll throw a band $5 or $6 and listen to their album a few times before it gets lost in the digital mess of my computer. But
I love Bandcamp.
It has its place.
I think Bandcamp is awesome. The only issue I have with it is the way the app works. I wish you could like make playlists out of the stuff. Like I wish it was the interface was a little less rigid. But it's great because it's like, cool, I can spend $8 on a tape, which I would do anyway, and I can have it digitally on my phone like immediately. I think that's fucking rad. And there's also tons of old, especially in punk and hardcore, there's a bunch of older bands that are like, hey, we weren't into making money when we were around. We remastered our entire discography and we just want to put it out. Here's a name your price, like 20 song discography that you can just download for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Eucharist LP, the hardcore Eucharist, like that's like nothing on Bandcamp, which is fucking great. So I'm a big fan of Bandcamp, big proponent of that particular application.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I try really, really hard. I don't succeed often, but I try really hard not to be snobby about that whole thing. You know, like if I'm talking to someone and I'm talking about having a music collection, you know, a lot of times they don't know that I'm talking about records and CDs. They just think they have a ton of MP3s. And then when it comes to light, what we're actually discussing, for a split second in my brain, I'm like, oh, you fucking asshole. But it never comes out of my mouth anymore. It used to. It never comes out of my mouth anymore. I just have to accept that this is the way things are now. This is the way that the future is going. The future is not so much what we're doing. And it's not so much having a room full of records. It's just they want convenience. And you're talking about Spotify and that kind of thing. I have no idea how to use Spotify. I only use Spotify if I have to review an album and I know I don't want to buy it. Yeah. You know, but if it's some like I don't think you buy albums on Spotify, right? You just
listen to them. You stream them.
So I mean, I don't have accounts. I don't know how to do any of that shit. So I don't know how to get in the car and throw on Spotify. All my music, they're on fucking thumb drives. And I just plug them in and scroll through.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, I commend people that do know how to work these things, but again, it's just that there's this part of me that's coming from a world of being close with bands and close with artists. I just feel like, okay, you can have my $10. It's really not that big of a deal. Motherfuckers spend, 10 times that on a pair of shoes. I know it's like an old grumpy man, but it's true. So you can spend $10 on an album that you actually love. You know what I mean?
And their music is so much more life enriching than a pair of shoes.
Sure. Unless you're like a weird shoe collector.
Some people are.
They are. And I think that's cool. But, or you might never mind.
How much did you spend on lattes and avocado toast, liberal? You could have been buying records.
That's where I was going. But,
that's my Ben Shapiro impression. Thank you very much.
I'll go to some stupid vegan restaurant and I'll seriously spend $35 on a meal.
Yeah.
Easily.
Well, it's enjoyment. It's full enjoyment though.
Yeah.
Right. Every vegan restaurant I've ever been to, I've had an amazing fucking meal. I didn't know what the hell I was ordering, but it was amazing when I got there.
You've never been to Grasshopper in Boston.
See.
Dysentery. One word, dysentery.
Yeah. My 2 cents, my digital experience is a lot different from most folks. I never got into any of the Napster, era of stuff of just, downloading it in bulk for stuff. A big part of it was at the time I did not have access to a computer or an internet connection that would have handled that shit. So that completely went past me, and I never blinked. I've never once been on Napster or anything. When I did start getting into downloading stuff more,
the hell is that?
A big part of it for me was that it was a chance to finally hear old out of print stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That there was no way I was ever going to find. A good example was like new wave of British heavy metal demo tapes that, even if you could find them, they wouldn't play right and people would charge a fortune for them. And the band is they're not making any money off of this. This is not being reissued. Nobody's getting left out or, having profits taken away. And it's the only way I want to hear these extra 3 songs by Trader's Gate, or, the only way I want to get this cassette only release album from Deny, because they made such an amazing single. And then where are you going to find a cassette made in the UK in 1983? So that's why I got more interested in downloading. It was a good chance to hear a lot of these very obscure things that there was no way to hear otherwise. Sure, if you want to hear Slayer, one of your friends is going to have the new Slayer or whatever. I don't, I still don't have many friends, that can reach over and pull a Persian Risk single off the shelf.
Yeah.
So that's why I got very interested and did most of my downloading's been that way. When it came to contemporary releases, yeah, I agree with y'all. I always, for a long time I used like eMusic, where you bought the downloads, the prices were very reasonable. Bandcamp is fantastic. Yes, if I like it enough, I will, I have no problem paying and buying it as a download. If I really like it enough, I'll buy the physical copy instead. That's fine too.
See, there's one thing. There's one thing about this whole thing, though.
Go ahead.
What is that? Go ahead. What is that? I'm curious.
That is
the hard drive.
Yeah, it's stock. Because you don't drop $200 to $300 on a Palace Queen of the World record without knowing what the hell it is. It's an obscure, you know what I mean? Like, you want to see, like, do I really fucking love this? Do I really need it? So I kept this since I've been listening to a lot of these things. You know what I mean? This has helped me so much, and I think that there's nothing wrong with it. It's made me a better student. It's made me a better scholar.
For me, the thing about I like the convenience of being able to preview shit, but for me, I still religiously blind buy. I do.
Oh, I do too.
I love it.
The cover alone. The cover, I'll buy it for a cover.
I still look for that feeling I got when I heard Mind Wars for the first time by Holy Terror. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. Does that happen as much anymore these days? No. But I still love that blind buy experience. I'm putting on something that someone told me was cool, or I just thought looked cool, or it was on that record label I wanted to check out. That is still a very special part of collecting for me. And that's one thing that the digital era is kind of robbed, I think. But the benefits greatly outweigh the negatives in that department.
The blind buys are fun, Marty, but Phillip made an excellent point. When you get to if you're looking to spend a certain amount on something, blind buying is not fun. It's just like, hey, I want $200 for this 7-inch. Can I hear it first, please? then we'll talk about how many blowjobs I need to give you to bring that price down.
Yeah. It might come to that. That's not an exaggeration.
57.
It might come to that several times.
57.
Sorry. I find that I like to blind buy with new stuff, like because I'll hop onto Bandcamp or I'll hop onto a distro, and especially with metal bands. I mean, people get so nerdy about their descriptions of stuff, me included. But it'll be like, oh, it's a tasteful melange of early mellow death with late 90s, early 2000s grindcore a la Circle of Dead Children. I'm like, I'm listening. What's the name of this band? How much is it? $5? Whatever. $10? I'm on it. You know what I mean? So in a row.
Just a note of early at the gate.
We Mallrats reference.
That smooth melodic.
Sorry, Jurgen. Sorry about that windier experience there. Sorry.
But yeah, that Dungeon Serpent record I bought off the description. I was like, this sounds like it's going to fill a void that it was previously empty in my life of like Edge of Sanity, Greek black metal, and maybe a few other kind of 90s DM, but not the same way people have been approaching it for the past like 5 years. Cool. I bought it. It was one of my favorite records of the year. So, and there you go.
Right.
I find a lot of you guys that do these kind of shows, it was intimidating for me to jump aboard because I had no idea what VC was. I had like 4 episodes in before I heard what I was looking up what VC and was it VCLT and all that shit. I didn't have a clue what any of this stuff was.
Community Love Train, Derek.
Yeah.
Higgins.
Well, now I know. Now I know.
I think it was Derek.
Yeah, no, it was just a completely weird world to me, right? And of all you guys, like my show is silly and stuff like that because I don't feel like I'm the most articulate or the most knowledgeable of the bunch, but I try to make it as friendly as possible. You know what I mean? Like if you get a review from a guy in a Yeti suit, I mean, Jesus Christ, I mean, how bad can it be? I mean, he's pouring his heart and soul out.
Croutons.
Yeah, crouton. Yeah, buy a box of croutons.
Yeah.
It is weird because it's its own like community and its own like culture and space and like all these other buzzwords that people use nowadays. But it has its own lingo and its own drama, and like compared to other people that make videos for other topics on YouTube, it's a lot smaller and a lot friendlier from what I've seen. And it's nice, but like, yeah, I mean, you're very articulate. You know what you're talking about.
No, yeah, but yeah, I'm passionate about it. I'm not fishing here. I'm just saying that, like, I am, compared to the shows that you guys do, I am probably the most childish and childlike of the bunch, and I'm not apologizing for that. You know what I mean? Another thing, speaking of digital and stuff, Ken's death metal crit. I love Ken. I'm sure all of us do.
Yeah.
But I love watching Ken because, speaking of, what a great speaker. I mean, but he also makes me
Natural.
feel like
He's
he
an
makes
orator.
me feel. Yeah. He's just, every time I would love to, if I walked into Ken, there would be no handshaking. It would be a hug. Right? It's like, get over here, yo, big old
Bring that-
softy. Right?
That silver flat top right over here. Come on.
Yeah.
Give me some sugar.
He's just a sweet guy, and he's just so knowledgeable and friendly. You know what I mean? But when I watch a show, I'd like drift off. I'm like, it reminds me of like being in math class, like back in the day. I was like, what is he fucking talking about, man? Like, I don't have a clue. And then I'll look it up, and I feel like my grandmother playing Super Mario Brothers when it first came out. I'm like, what is he talking about? Is that a thing? Right? And then I'll listen to it, and I'm like, oh, I can. I don't know what to do with you. Right? And that happens a lot with me because, you're talking about like how excited you were when you found a Y&T record. Well, goddamn, dude, that's my home. Right?
Yeah, well,
that's where I live.
That's the thing. Like, the whole thing is sharing knowledge. Like, I mean, as far as like newer stuff that came out, I remember like 5 years ago when I started doing this and seeing like Sean Blackereth and people of that age, because there was like a bunch of younger metal YouTubers that like were in on this way before I was or Marty was or anything like that, and they were into new stuff. And like, I was into some stuff. Like, I was on the Nuclear War Now board here and there, like learning about stuff, sketchy plays, so not too much, but like, I would watch these videos and Josh Armijo and people like that, and I was like, what is all this stuff that the kids are talking about? Like these youngins, what are they into? I'm like, oh, perverted ceremony. That sounds cool. Like,
yeah.
So I learned a lot. Like, I had the same kind of glazed over kind of thing watching metal YouTube. I'm like, I don't know what this is. And conversely, though, when I started making videos, I was like, let me talk JL America and Turbo Music for a little bit and review all these weird ass bands, these weird third and fourth rate bands. And a few years later, I get the guy from Worm messaging me, telling me like, oh, I watched a bunch of your videos and learned about like all these obscure 90s death metal bands, and it's an influence for my band. And now his band is freaking huge, which is kind of weird to me. Like, that's mind-blowing that like any of my very, very, very small efforts have like influenced in some small way a band that I really enjoy. So I don't know.
Influenced by Chromium D, and the fact that I grew up with a satellite dish. My parents, we had one channel. My parents eventually bought one of those gigantic 12-foot fucking satellite dishes. So I was introduced to Much Music's Power Hour, where I saw a lot of Helix. So when this came across my hands for $6, it was like my hands were being guided by Chromium D.
Let me tell you something. Are you trying to make me cry like I've drank 17 Yankee Jim Ice? Because, God damn, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that album will get you laid. I promise you. But it's not a quality woman. But it's going to be fun.
All right, let's talk about the dark side. What is the problems that it has caused us? What have been some problems for collecting?
Jesus Christ.
Problematic collecting.
Where do we start?
Let's start with Pat.
Oh, good.
Because that's just the system we're going with here.
I mean, as I already said, like, one of my relationships ended with I've had a few. One of my relationships ended because of my habitual collecting, and that was at the time I was in school and I was getting more and more. This was the period that I was living through where I was like rediscovering metal, so I was like re-obsessing over childhood stuff like Metallica, and also discovering like Brazilian extreme thrash and black metal sarcophago and beyond, and just kind of like buying up a bunch of stuff, whatever I could afford. And it was alienating, we broke up. Nice girl. We're still in touch. She's cool as hell. We broke up because we had nothing in common. She was into like the Red Sox and like the Big Bang Theory and shit. Like it just didn't pan out. So I'd like to think like record collecting probably had something to do with that. Whatever. That wasn't great. But it was probably bound to happen anyway. Other than that, like, I don't know. I think it's a very positive. If you were to categorize it as an addiction, it's a very positive addiction. It's certainly better than any kind of chemical dependency or anything like that. But like anything else, if you're going through something rough and you're depending on that little dopamine rush or serotonin or whatever, whenever you're having a bad time, it can get weird. If you're spending too much money and stuff like that, you have to keep on top of it. I feel like for the most part, I've done all right with that, but at a certain point you have to kind of pull back and be like, well, what is it that actually makes me happy here? Is it having a physical product that contains music or the music itself? And I find every time that I feel like I'm being a little dumbass about stuff, which is often, it's a good time, and you can't always make the time either, but it's a good time to sit back and actually just chill for an hour, anywhere from like 20 minutes to like, 2 or 3 hours if you can, and just listen to music. It doesn't matter on what kind of format. And that's the thing. Cause I think the root of the addiction is your love, if you want to call it that, content warning, is your love for the music, your love for the art itself and what it does for you. Because at some point it pulled us through hard times, right? Like I remember being a really angry teen and being like, fucking okay, it's 1991, Seasons in the Abyss just came out, I'm gonna listen to War Ensemble and go skate, and you want to hold on to that one way or another. And sometimes you're chasing that dragon and you're like, oh shit, I just went into a fugue state and blew $120 on some distro on bands I've never heard of. Holy shit. Like that would be the dark side for me. But I'm thankfully in a place where like I make decent money and it's a drop in the bucket, and I don't think everybody has that, but you just gotta be careful. That's the main thing. I've experienced it going south, but that's long behind me. I don't know. It's a bit of a babble. I apologize.
No, it's what we're here for, to babble. Myke, babble.
The confessional series. Here we go. Oh shit.
Yeah, I don't have, I think I said earlier, I don't have a lot of negatives when it comes to record collecting. I think that part of it is, or one of the most annoying parts of it is due to where I live. I don't own a house, I rent, and having to move every.
Dude, you've had to, since I've known you, you've moved 3 fucking times.
I have.
It's
I have.
fucking
Myke, where
terrible.
are you? I'm sorry, where are you?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, I'm
Okay.
technically in East Point, Georgia now, but
Okay.
same difference for most people. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I move super regularly, but I've definitely moved quite a few times in the last few years due to all kinds of bullshit. But whenever I move, there are so many things I have to take into account because I have records. I have to take into account, I have to have a 2-bedroom house because the records take up an entire room by themselves. And I'm not going to put them in like a den because then they're out in the open and that just feels weird. They have to be in their own rooms. It's just this weird thing I have. I also have to consider like what part of town I'm moving into, because I can't move to like a super sketchy part of town because I'd be worried about a crackhead or a meth head kicking my door and stealing my shit.
Which has happened.
Which has happened, unfortunately.
Fuck.
But I also can't move into like a super hipstery part of town because at least the crackheads don't know what to do with records. The fucking hipsters would, Yeah. So I have to find like a middle ground where there's like maybe crackheads here and meth heads here, and I don't know. Hopefully hipsters are way down the road, but
Nothing
yeah,
worse than a hipster addicted to crack.
I don't know that we've seen too many of those around here. Yeah, you know what? Let me stop. You're opening a door that I don't think I want to go down. I might
Sorry.
put myself in.
Does anybody have any crack for sale? By the way? Can you fax me some crack?
Is there like a love train for that kind of thing? Like you can send
Yeah.
me if I send you crack?
Am I the only Canadian here tonight? Yeah, I'm the only Canadian. Mike, do you find my accent hilarious? You've got to find my accent
You
hilarious.
haven't said a boot or hey, so I mean, I haven't.
That
I don't
is
hear
a
anything.
misconception. That is bullshit.
That's a lie. Don't do that.
Yes.
It can't be. You're
It's
not
a
gonna
lie.
ruin. You're not gonna ruin Degrassi for me, dude. It's not
Oh.
gonna happen.
Degrassi shan't never be ruined. It's perfect. It's perfect. If we're talking about like the 80s Degrassi, junior high and shit, yeah. But
That's
a
right.
boot, like we don't say a boot. Where I'm from, we say about, or I'll say bar and car. I've talked to you guys about this before. Like when I really get drunk, I'll say bar and car. But yeah, yeah.
Appointment.
I don't even know what the fuck I was saying anymore. What was? No, we were talking. What was the? The negative
The
side.
negatives.
Hey, you're up, Phillip. Go for it.
Oh, this is a doozy, my friends. I really shit the bed. So, the fact that I'm married right now with 2 beautiful children and a beautiful wife it's pretty impressive because I really fucked us real good. Not record-wise, but collecting. Something came up for charity online and I was watching it, and I'm a big movie prop collector, which I've mentioned, and a Chucky from Child's Play 2, one of the 14 animatronic dolls came up at the same time as Snake Plissken Escape from New York, his boots, and there's only 3 pairs in the world. Only 3. Right? Kurt Russell's, this other guy that had them made, and the stunt guy.
The stunt guy, yeah.
Yeah. So, to me, the way I was raised, this was urgent. You don't fuck around because these things don't happen very often.
No,
And boy, was I right.
penny from heaven.
Fucking argue with me on this and you'll find out. Right? But what I did was, and you're going to think I'm a piece of shit, and I was a piece of shit. I jumped right into our wedding savings account. Oh yeah, no, I see the look on your face, man. It's a scumbag move. It's a scumbag move.
You're only human.
I'm only human, but it's a shitty.
Did you wear
human.
the Snake Plissken boots on your wedding day?
No, man. Like to this day, it's a pretty heated topic. So, but if we're amongst friends here, right? This is friends.
Okay.
This is a safe space, Phillip. It's a safe
I
space.
cleaned out our account, and I did. Expose the fact, and I fucking did. And but guess what, dude? You're talking to one of the 3 people that own Snake Plissken boots.
What about Chucky?
I got Chucky. He's in that case behind there.
What I was gonna say is because
His
still have a
eyes
lover.
move. His eyes move and his mouth move. I mean, like you don't dangle that shit in front of me. Like I'll never cheat on my wife. You could have like a porn star in front of me and she's like, come on, let's do it, Phil. I love your record collection. And I'm like, no, man, I'm married, dude. But if you got like a prop from They Live or something, I'm like, all right, what do you got? Right? So yeah, so I cleaned it out. And
How do you know that shit's legit though?
dude, I've got certificate. What is this, amateur hour, Marty? Jesus Christ.
How do you know the certificate's real? It can all
Because
be forged.
I bought them. I'm not having. Don't go there, girl.
I just get nervous. I get nervous when this internet shit. It's all
because
we're
you
all
hang out with
scammers.
shady people, man.
That's right.
Me, this shit has holograms on it. You can't forge holograms. Right?
Chromie is the dark side.
I am the dark side. So, anyways, yeah. So she was pretty much. We're breaking up because any man that's going to do this shit is not really a man. And I'm like, well, no. Right? So
What did you say?
Yeah. Well, but she was right. And that's when I started to realize, like, Jesus Christ, I have a sickness. I have a absolute sickness that I can't control. But I don't know if I said this before, but when I was a kid, and I blame my father again on that guy, it's like it's daddy's fault. When I was a kid, my dad came home not only with Castle Grayskull, but Snake Mountain. That's how, like, not because he was spoiling me, because
Yes,
he
he
said
was.
to my mother, he's like, Jane, he has a French accent. He's like, Jane, how are they supposed to fight if you don't have the two? It's like, that makes sense.
It does
Great
make sense.
question. Yep.
And that's a great question that he posed to her, right? And I'm like, man, and he's French, right? Because he's passionate about shit. And she's like Irish, so she's like a realist. Right? So it fucked me up. It fucked me up. And that's why I did what I did. And it worked out. It worked out great, but I definitely had to make some sacrifices. And now with my kids, I don't get half the shit that I used to anymore. And I don't make the money that I did one time either. I'm not very important anymore.
Oh,
Oh no, it's fine.
See, yeah, all good points. There's been a lot of good comments popping up in the chat, but
well, the chat,
Yeah.
I can't keep up with it.
yeah, but no, folks are making lots of good points, and a lot of them boil down to a few basic categories that become problems when you're collecting at the level that a lot of us do. One is time. You only have so many hours in a day to do anything with, and when you're getting into this shit deep, or any hobby really deep, it's going to eat up time that you can't spend on other things. No matter how rich you are, you're not buying a 25th hour in the day. So how much time are you going to spend, digging online? How much time are you going to spend obsessing over, the eBay auctions and things like that? Yeah, collecting eats up a lot of time. Driving to shows, I cannot tell you how many, weeks or months or years worth of my childhood were spent at record shows with my dad, in secondhand record stores all over Atlanta and Indianapolis, wherever we go on vacation. Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, there's a good part of that. Those are good memories for me. But that was a lot of time where we didn't do other things on vacation too, or the time adds up, and then you, especially as you get older, you've got more responsibilities. You're pulled in more directions. Every hour I spend, in the man cave fiddling with music, it's an hour I'm not spending with my little boy. It's an hour I'm not doing something with my wife. It's an hour I'm not fixing something around the house that probably needs to be fixed or cleaned up or something. So time is one big one. Space is a huge one. Most of us, have a finite amount of space to put things, and collections, they grow. You start out, my dad has always said this, he bought, a Temptations record in 1963 or something. He didn't even have a record player. He had to borrow one from his friend to play the record on. And now it's 50 years later, and he's got 2,000 albums sitting around the house. And he's like, it wasn't supposed to, and he's kind of half joking, but he's also half lucid about it. It's like, this wasn't ever supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to be this way. But it piles up. And yeah, again, if you're going to take any kind of reasonable care of it, you've got to have shelving. You've got to have, plastic sleeves. You've got to have paper inner sleeves. You can't just, throw it all in a corner of the basement and, have it, rot and mold and mildew. Space is a huge problem, and especially for folks like Myke, who move a lot. I did the math one time. In the 20 years after I graduated high school, I think I changed my address 22 times. And all the time having to drag that shit with me.
Fuck that. Fuck that.
I went through a stretch for several years where I took all the vinyl and I just left it at my folks' place. I'm just like, I can't move this shit around all the time. And so it was safe. It was okay. It's out of the way. But I couldn't do anything with it either. If I wanted to, pull it down vinyl, I couldn't. I was out of contact with it. That part of my collection was, basically out of bounds. So yeah, space is a big issue that you've got to deal with. Space has been, for me, one of the biggest problems over the years. I know at one point when I was, in grad school, I stopped one day and realized I've got CDs in every drawer of my desk. I've got CDs in shoe boxes all around my room. I've got CDs all over the bookcase. I've got an entire footlocker full of nothing but CDs. I've got like 4 or 5 CD racks with nothing but CDs in them. I'm just like, there's no room for shit. I can barely find anything, even though I'm keeping it organized, because which does this drawer have A through C or A through D in it? I've got to open 4 drawers to figure out, where the divisions are. So yeah, space becomes a problem.
Yeah, but Alan, what's that old joke? What is it? What do you get? What do you get the man who has everything? And the answer is shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Build
Yep,
up.
but
like
even the
those
shelves
facts
take
you
up.
just said.
Even the shelves take up space. The room I'm in right now, there is really no inch of wall space. If I wanted to buy a new shelf right now, I'd have a hell of a time finding a place to cram it in this room.
Those racks could go a lot higher. There's behind you, the CD rack could go another 4 feet before it hits the ceiling. So don't give me that.
Yeah, I can go vertical, but then I can go up 2 more shelves up, and then I wouldn't even be able to reach this shit.
I see a lot of buttercream paint. I see a lot of buttercream paint. That's fucking prime real estate, dude. Let me ask you a question. If I snap my fingers and everything that you own and everything you worked for disappears or goes up in flames, which I talked about on the last time I was on your show, are you still you?
It's an interesting question. Maybe
That's a good question. That's a good question.
But what you mentioned there, Phil, and Mike, brought this point up too. There's a fear. As you start building a nicer collection that you're heavily invested in, not just financially but emotionally, there is that concern of what happens if someone breaks in here and steals shit. Now, like Mike said too, most people, they're not going to know what this shit did. They may steal the record player or the equipment. They're not going to take the fucking records. Mm-hmm. What happens if the house burns down?
Yeah, the elements don't give a fuck.
It doesn't matter where you're at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So are we still who we are? Do we start
part of the way
over?
I've got my collection organized over there? There are some certain records are in boxes, and certain boxes have a little color code on them, and so that's so that the wife knows if there is a problem in this house, and you have the time, you grab that box, and that box, and the rest of it you can't do anything about. But I mean, that is part of how I've got my collection organized and packed. Is worst case scenario, if the fucking tornado sirens going off, you get you get the kid to safety, and if there is time, you go grab whatever of those boxes you can and you put them in next. Yeah. So yeah, it's a thing that you deal with. And then the fourth and biggest one, which for most folks, and it's been mentioned several times in the chat, and we all joke about it, but it is a thing. We all spend a fuck ton of money building these collections over time. There's a lot of money that gets tied up in it that we could have used maybe for other things. We could have improved quality of life. We could have eaten better. We could have gone on more trips. With friends. There are things we could have done that we didn't because we were spending money or saving money to spend on records. There's money, and now we have money that is, these collections in a way I never think of them as an investment, but if I took all those records back there and sold them, that would be a lot of money for my family that I could do something for them with.
I think of them that way often.
And it's how many trips to Disneyland are back there? I don't know.
The logistics of it are a nightmare because you have to deal with like people who are buying them and they're weird. Like, this isn't VG plus, this is VG.
Oh neutral. That's a whole other thing. Yeah,
nightmare.
Oh yeah,
but
it definitely is.
At some point, I feel like I'm kind of planning one way or another. I feel like by the time I hit a certain age, I'm sorry to cut you off, Alan.
Oh no, that's fine.
Maybe flipping a bunch of it because I've thought of a lot of them as investments. And when I moved, speaking of moving,
you just did that, yeah.
Like I had to pick the amount that would fit into my car because we hired a moving company. We're fortunate enough where we could pay people to move us from Massachusetts down here to North Carolina. And I was like, it's the moving company is well regarded. They have good reviews, and I'm packing my records well, but I don't know what's going to fucking happen. They're getting packed on like a tractor trailer. So I have these 4 boxes of LPs that'll fit into my Subaru that are whatever, like around 100 records each. And like, that really helps you kind of crystallize like, okay, what are the most important records in my collection to me? Mm-hmm. Because it's a combination of nostalgia, value, and a few other things. I'm like, well, all my creator records, because I actually bought them at a store when I was like 20 years old, all my accused records, because of the fact that I found them in Rochester, New York, and they were $2 a piece when I was like 19 and a dumb fuck. And like, they changed my life. You know, like this, and this. I have to check off these. I had it all solidified down, and the rest it was like, what happens, happens. I think it'll be fine. But you know, so you have to, I think about things on those terms a lot, because the original idea for me of having a record collection before I started having sort of a more decadent approach to collecting records was what I was saying earlier, this kind of utilitarian thing where like, these are things that I want to listen to, you know, and they still are, you know. I've never been one for collecting a bunch of one record, different pressings. Like I've never been like, oh, I'm going to have like 19 copies of Youth of Today's Break Down the Walls.
Jag Panzer, Ample Destruction.
I'm with Pat. I don't do that.
I've never been that kind of guy, but I'm a hypocrite because I collect multiple formats. I'm like, well, I have that, but I don't have it on CD and tape, you know, whatever. But to me, it's like, again, at the core of it is my love for the music. So I feel like maybe at some point later on, I can maybe trim it down. But right now I'm just like, this is sick. I have this room full of stuff, you know, but anyway.
Patrick, with your bisexual lighting that you have in the background there.
Yes.
Oh yes. Witchfinder General Allen. Come on now. Oh, that's boobs. Put it away. Come on, man. You're getting me randy. Do you have what it takes to start over? Would you start over, or would you be like I said last time I was on the show, I'm fucking free. I'm free. I'm going to go. I was at Martin Popoff's apartment, and he was like, I'm selling these records to you because I want to buy some good meals. And I'm like, you're fucking insane, dude. Right? He's like, no, I just want to live. I live with this enough. I'm done with it. And I'm like, well, geez, Martin, this is
It's
crazy.
his whole house. It's his whole fucking house, isn't it?
It's his whole fucking world.
Yeah.
But do you have got what it takes to start over?
I've been thinking about that.
If you got to sell it all and just like start again. I mean, maybe. I have started over like numerous times, because I think when I was broke and when I was collecting records again, it was like, oh, well, I bought some new stuff here and there, and I was like, yeah, a lot of this stuff sucks. And I'd flip like, you know, a dozen records and get something I really, really wanted. You know, and I still do that periodically, but I've been doing that less and less, where I'm just like,
yeah, but
cool.
Your options are becoming less and less. This stuff is not going to exist. I mean, like eBay has gone nuts and Discogs is ruined. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, do you got, I don't know if you have the financial resources to get this shit back, for one thing.
Well, again,
right?
like,
do you have the strength and energy to start over again? Or do you just say, fuck it? I you know what I mean? Like, I like these 10 albums and I'll keep those, or do you start? Because for me, I have no other choice but to start over. I'm like a goddamn insect. My instinct is like, we must gather for the queen.
Well, my dream, and it's vague right now, but I'm still trying to figure out, you know, what I want to do when I grow up for the rest of my life.
Me too.
And there are a bunch of record stores, a very good one in particular in Raleigh, sorry state, but they're more of a punk base and they only do vinyl. But I mean, I would love to just take half my collection and just open a store, you know, and like, if I can do it right and do it the right way, that would rule. I would love to do that, because I would just be like, and I'd buy new stock. I'd go through distros and stuff and beef it up. Like, it wouldn't just be half of this stuff, you know what I mean? But I would love to do that and just like have a client base come in and be like, hey kid, you ever heard of Cryptic Slaughter? This is going to blow your mind, or whatever. And then the kid would be like, fuck off, dad, whatever. But you know, I'd love to at least attempt that on some level, you know, because I just feel like I love having this, but I don't want to just keep it to myself. You know, part of the whole reason with me doing the channel is like having,
you have a son, God damn it. You have a son, God damn it. Leave it to him.
Some of it I will, for sure.
No, this shit is, you're romanticizing about setting up a shop and shit like that. No, man. These people, you're gonna get these flea market assholes that are coming in and like, oh, I can get this on Amazon Reaper. No, fuck that, man.
Well, maybe.
Keep the shit. Bury it. King Tut. Go be like the Egyptians, man. Get fucking buried with this shit.
I'm pretty lazy, so I don't know if the store thing will really happen anyway, you know, but like, I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking for like the future. I don't know if I want to. My kid's 5. I don't know what he's going to be into. You know what I mean? Like, yes, Eric. Move to North Carolina, dude.
Get out of move, Eric. Out of Seattle.
Why don't we just create a giant pyramid and put our collections in there when we die?
This kind of leads into one of the big topics that Marty, wanted to touch on too. Is what do we see ourselves doing with things in the future? We've been collecting for 30 years. Do we collect another 30 years? Do we sell out?
Keep collecting.
You see, for me, Phil, you asked a good question. Is it still me if things die, if it's all gone? About 2 years ago, our toilet took a shit. So I went to Home Depot and bought myself a new toilet. I'm like, I'm going to put in this new toilet. Fucking Bob Vila. Well, I got the tank to tighten down too much, and the tank shattered full of water. And when I built this
story,
when I built this office, the only wall I had for my CDs is this back wall right underneath the bathroom.
I remember that.
And
shit.
I got about 20 feet of CDs, 20 feet of CD racks over here. And I'm like, when I put them there, I'm like, this is going to be a problem someday. It's underneath the bathroom, but it'll be fine. Well, that water exploded out of the fucking tank, and it, like a beautiful waterfall that you see on National Geographic, that was rolling down 1/3 of my second CD rack. And it fucking wiped out, a lot of original Voivod pressings, Overkill, original stuff that I grew up with in high school and loved and hold a very strong sentimental value to. I mean, I ripped all the fucking covers out, laid them all out on the floor, cleaned up the mess. And, once water hits a CD jacket, it's fucked forever.
Yeah.
It's fucked. If you can get the books apart, they're all wrinkled and shitty. It's a drag. And every time I pull out a CD I want to listen to, I look at it and it's a reminder. I mean, can I rebuild and go on? Yes. Is it still me? Yes. I mean, if this whole fucking house burnt down and I lost everything, I mean, I don't know if I would have the gumption to rebuild the collection.
But you're free, Marty. You're free.
I would be free. I'd be free, and I would have to, spend more time on Spotify remembering what I had. But but that plays into a bit of guilt. I'm like I said, I'm going to be 51 in June. I'm not going to be around forever, and I'm still really enjoying collecting. It's fun for me. It's the one pastime I do that's me and my own. You know what I mean? It's my time to sit when everybody's in bed, fuck around on the internet, buy shit, listen to shit, buy shit, hoard it, collect it. And when it comes to selling, I've done that. And there's been some shit that I've regretted selling. But, some of the shit I've sold has gotten me hundreds of dollars at times when I needed it for the label and shit like that. But nowadays, it's a massive pain in the ass to sell stuff. It's a massive pain in the ass. Unless you could get someone to buy it in bulk. Or, I've had a lot of fun with this whole VCLT thing. I like sending people shit. I think it's fun. It feels kind of freeing having shit that I may not necessarily want, or I might, or if I know somebody that might want something, it's fun to send that shit away. It's cool. And, but oh shit, I'm losing my train of fucking thought. I just don't know. Like I said, my wife, she's disabled. She can't even get down in the basement. So if I were to drop dead today, she wouldn't be able to come down here and process this stuff. My kid, he's 11. He don't give a shit. I've thought if I knew I was sick and going to die, maybe that would give me the time, my final act to, sell the shit. Cause I don't have a humongous vinyl collection. I've got way more CDs, but it's a good vinyl collection. I've got a lot of variety and stuff in there, and there's some records that are worth some fucking money. And I told them, I said, look, if I die, there's some shit in here that's worth some money. They wouldn't know it. I mean, I'd have to have friends come and help. I mean, it's just this whole thing. And that's where I start feeling a little bit of guilt. So if everything burned down, I'd probably feel free and not have to worry about it anymore. But I don't know. I mean, that's, I guess, the dark side of collecting. And I don't think it creeps up on me once in a while. It bums me out to see the stuff that I'm getting in, and I feel kind of bad about it. It's never detracted away from my family eating or our bills being paid. I mean, all that shit is, it started, I mean, collecting kind of takes over your life early. When I was younger and starting to get into this stuff in high school, I would save my lunch money and not eat. And just to have enough money for 2 tapes at the end of the week or 3 tapes at the end of the week, you know? So, I mean, you learn to sacrifice early on, I think. So as you get older and you start having some more disposable income, it's a lot easier to collect. And when you're, you know, a grown ass person that has some money, it's, I mean, a $20 here, $20 there, you don't see it hurting you, really.
But Marty, when you were saving,
it's only when you're go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry,
What?
man. I didn't want to interrupt, but the point you made there, when you were that broke saving, and you know what I mean, to get those couple of tapes secondhand or whatever, and then maybe get like fries and maybe a comic book or something. Those tapes have never sounded better.
No, and that's the
we
real
are
connection.
Searching for that high. We have been searching. We've been seeking for that, and it's a drug addiction.
Yep,
you know, it's an absolute addiction we're looking for. We're
And
trying
also,
to find the. Go ahead.
To go back to dark shit, and not super dark, but I've definitely stolen money from my parents to buy fucking tapes. Like when I was a teenager.
I never did that. I'd have fucking.
It's not
really
stealing
bad
if it's your parents. It's not stealing. The Bible says so.
And like shitty retail jobs too, which I don't feel bad about at all. But yeah, I've definitely been like, I need to get some records, yoink, like from various sources. But
you know, I've been
go ahead. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, don't be.
Yeah, like when you were asking the question about could we start over, I wanted to jump in on that because I've thought about that a lot. You know, I have renter's insurance because, you know, part of my fear is, you know, my house burning down, and you know, the only thing of value that I have my records and I have this girl. So I always wonder, like, okay, do I grab her or do I try to grab as many of my records as I possibly can? So I probably grab her, but I don't know that I would start over, man. I don't know that I would start over because I mean, I have shit in there that even if my renter's insurance company paid me what it's worth, I literally couldn't find it again. Like there's
if your list is in the cloud, you're good.
I don't even know how to do that. I get notifications regularly that says your cloud is full, and I'm like, well, fucking good luck.
Yeah, the cloud has been full on my phone forever, and I don't know how to. I don't even remember the fucking password. So it's
no, but Mike's got a good point. I mean, even if he's got his list, or like to use Phillip's example from earlier, there's only 2 more pairs of Snake Plissken's boots. The odds that you're going to get one of the other pairs, it ain't happening.
Right. I have stuff that is literally 1 of 5. Mm-hmm. What do I do about that?
What I mean? Like, no insurance will cover that.
Exactly. And the thing is, I know a lot of people say I'm OCD about things. I literally have OCD. And if my insurance company repaid me enough to buy 90% of what I had before, that 10% is going to drive me fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's a goddamn curse. It's a goddamn curse.
But that's okay because there's a good 20%, 10% of our collections that we haven't listened to in fucking decades. And we don't care about.
I've got
Seriously,
5 TT Quicks and atrophies for you guys.
I'll take any atrophy you got off your hands.
I'm social. I've got vinyl by nature. I need socialized hate on vinyl. Socialized hate. I'm your boy.
I've actually got a lot of hits on atrophy. This shit, I should start doing this, going on all these sites and selling records. Fuck your store, Patrick, man. I'm going to just do this shit.
Why do you hate my imaginary store so much?
I know I don't hate your store. I just think you're being like really romantic about it. I think you just got to be a grifter about it, like I'm doing here tonight and selling some TT Quick records.
There is a certain amount of romanticism to it, but like record stores are huge in Raleigh right now, and I think I could hit a demographic that because the record seriously, Aaron and Eric came to go record shopping with me, and we went to Starry State, and that place ruled. And then they went to some place. I didn't come with them. It was after I said, see you later, like right before they hit the road. And it was a place selling like not even a first press, but like a 3rd or 4th press copy of a Black Flag record for like $150 when
Oh, it's terrible. It's record stores are pricing everything off of Discogs right now.
And if I
it's
price
tough.
stuff reasonably and maybe worked in some other kind of stuff with it, like I don't know what else I'd sell. I like skateboards, you know, I don't know yet, but I'm just saying, like, it's not all unicorn horn phallic weirdness, you know. But again, like, I don't know what I'm doing yet. I know that I don't want to be a healthcare professional and be physically breathing in COVID for the rest of my days. So trying to figure it out. And also, like, I like having all this stuff, but if I did pare everything down to like all the classics from the 80s and 90s and kind of like maybe let go of a lot of like newer death metal releases that I like, but I don't need to own, I can stream them. That'd be all right. You know, if I sold that stuff in a shop to people that would appreciate it more, like some of this Maggot Stomp and Dark Descent stuff, which is great, but doesn't adhere to me the way that my old like Earache and Noise and Roadrunner stuff from the early 90s did. You know, I'd be cool with that, but I don't know yet, you know.
All right, let's be fucking real here for a second. I gotta ask you a real dirty question here right now. This is dirty. This is shitty, but I gotta ask it.
Not from you.
Not from me.
Never. Never.
All I'm gonna say is, if you could have one you could save, because I do have a fire rack, because my whole town was enveloped in fire, and I grabbed my Snake Plissken boots, and I didn't have my rack. I was grabbing records that I had, and a lot of it was 90s death metal, which I like death metal, but I'm not fucking like passionate about. But that shit was worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
I do have a fire rack now, so if I have to leave immediately, and I recommend everybody that's watching this show right now to create a fire rack. It's just this little cubby, this little 12 by 12 cubby that you have, and it's like, if shit gets real, you need to grab this without thinking.
Just like Alan's
right. And when Mike was talking to me, like, grab your cat. Well, fuck, grab the cat too. Hey, you know, just grab it all that you can, but you should have an expensive rack there, and that's what I learned from this. But my question to everyone here, and I want you to think about it, this is such a YouTuber thing to do. One record I want to hear, and this will represent who you guys really are. One record that you would have, that you would keep.
I pulled it out this evening.
Before we go through there, Marty, just something I wanted to mention about future collecting stuff, because that's a great question, Phillip, and we'll go around on that. Something that's worth noting, and this is a good time to bring it up, because like you know, Pat and Eric, you know, just comment on, you know, kind of the crazy prices they're seeing for some stuff right now. Yeah, prices on a lot of this classic metal stuff are really crazy. You know, for those of us who remember buying in the 90s, it's insane to see how much some of this stuff sells for. It is not always going to be worth this much, and I hate to burst anyone's bubble who has this delusion.
It's not.
As watching again, I've watched my dad collect records, you know, as long as I can remember, and there's a certain trajectory that hobby follows, and other hobbies have followed too. Right, you start off, you know, people have stuff when they're a kid, you know, they get a little bit older, they get to our age, you know, where they're comfortable, where they've got disposable income, stuff like that, and they go back and they buy that childhood shit that they lost or they never had in the first place or whatever. And that's when the prices go nuts. And it's always like this, roughly 30 years later, you know, take 18, you're 18 years old and add 30 to it, and that's when the shit is going to be expensive. But after that, it's eventually going to start a slow and steady decline, because people will get all the stuff they want and they're done, they're out. Or they'll just not be interested. You also get to a certain point where it's like, yeah, I'm a little too old, and now I don't want to be getting more of this stuff. You know, I've watched it very closely on my dad's record collecting trajectory. You know, 30 years ago, he had, you know, Lord, he'd get, you know, dozens of letters a month from people all over the place with it. He's still in touch with some of them, but, you know, it's a handful now. It's much slower. You know, in the mid and late 90s, a lot of the stuff, you know, he collects, you know, it's, you know, 50s and 60s. It's pre-British invasion, you know, rhythm and blues, doo-wop, a lot of those different genres. You know, those records, some of them were selling for $3,000. And today, that same record, you'd be lucky to get $1,000 for it. That's still a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but compared to what it was bringing 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it's a fraction. And it happens with most things. There are some things here and there. There's always anomalies. With music collecting, certain genres hold up better than others. Old blues music will still sell for a lot. Old doo-wop music does not. Old Beatles records will still bring a lot. Old, Paul and Paula, Everly Brothers, kind of, top 40 bubblegum pop stuff from that era, you can't give it away because it doesn't move to the next generation well.
No, I mean, that type of music didn't move on, for sure.
Yeah, some styles of music transcend generations and some don't. Heavy metal's pretty good at transcending generation, but not all of it is.
Heavy metal's still kind of young in the grand scheme of music.
Well, it's 50 years old now, so it's going to be put through its paces. And you have two factors, going on. Music, of course, gets more extreme and more out there and more eclectic over time. There's always going to be some younger folks who are interested in collecting the older stuff and hearing the older stuff, but that number is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller because and just to pick a YouTuber who's in that demographic more, Devin, Maze of Torment, he obviously is very into it and collects it and goes back and stays a lot of it. But at the same time, it's not really the music of his generation. There's not going to be a lot of people his age that are interested. When they're 48 years old, they're not going to be thinking back about, damn, the World Slavery Tour was the coolest fucking thing ever. Right. They're going to be thinking back about a Black Dahlia murder tour or package or something.
Damn, that new Archcode album, man, it brings me back.
It's silly to us, but to them, it will be a thing. Yeah. To some of these kids, to some people right now, it's going to be Spirit. Oh man, do you remember Spirit Box and how cool that was? Listening to that when we were 16. It'll be a thing, and that's going.
When are we bringing up Soup Dragons?
Prices are going down on it. The other thing that's going to be different with this next generation, and it's something we had touched on earlier, is will they want the physical media or not? Because, and I think you had a comment up there earlier, Marty. Someone mentioned it. Why don't we all just collect digital stuff? It would solve a lot of these problems with space. Put it all on the hard drive, like you were holding up, Phillip. We don't need the space anymore. It saves a ton of money. Is the next generation going to want to have these physical things, or are they just going to want the access? The attitude is changing more, where people are used to just access to it. For $10 a month, you can have a Spotify account. And you have access to what, 40 million fucking albums or something? Or $10 a month, you buy one CD. For a lot of younger folks, it's a no-brainer. Spend the $10 a month, and you have access to whatever you want to hear. There's other issues with that. Don't get me wrong. That's probably a topic for another night. But is this next generation going to really want to have racks of CDs and walls?
It's already starting to shift. It's already starting to shift.
It's already starting to shift, and I mean, it's shifted with our generation too. Think about it. How many of you own or want to own your parents' China set? Do you want that handed down to you?
I've got my grandmother's up here, and I'll never use it. We never eat anything fancy.
Yeah, my mom's talked to my sister about it. We have these fancy dishes. Which one of you wants them? Just like, I love you, but fuck no.
We're having PF tonight, kids.
And some of that comes back to space. I've got nowhere to put that stuff.
See, Chromie D wants your parents' China. He wants it.
Well, I'm all about that sort of. But I tell you, you smell that? I smell Seattle in the air.
If you want it, you could have it. But
that smell at all.
Even with something that you do want, like my dad's record collection. Again, he's getting up there, and the health problems are adding up. When he goes, there's 2,000 records sitting there. Is my mom going to sit there and play them all the time? No.
You will
Alan,
know what to do
again,
with them,
I've offered my services.
And you may be called upon to serve.
I'm not saying
that was something that was in Marty's video, talking about all of the shit and what to do with it when he dies. And I think about that a lot too. One of my best friends died a few years ago. He didn't collect records, but he collected Star Wars toys. So he had an entire basement full of Star Wars toys. He also collected, old like punk and hardcore stuff. Like Pat would probably know, like those old Gorilla Biscuits toys. He has
Sure.
he had a bunch of those. So when he passed, his wife had to deal with all that shit.
Mhm.
You know, and the only thing she could do was call us because she didn't know anything about that stuff. She's like, "What the fuck do I do with this?" So unfortunately, I have like 3 or 4 boxes of his crap that I have to at some point try to sell. Some of my other friends have a bunch of his stuff, but when we had to drive up to Asheville to sit in his basement and go through all that shit, I really started thinking about this. Like, if I died, you know, I don't have a wife or kids. I have a lot of best friends. I have a mom. My mom would have no fucking clue what to do with that stuff.
Yep.
And plus, she pulls down 2 or 3 records, sees a couple pentagrams, she's done with the room forever. So she's not going to deal with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what I would do or what, I mean, I'm not going to do shit, but I don't know what they would do. I guess I would have to expect my friend to do what we did for my other friend, which is drive up here and go through all that stuff. But it's such a terrible thing to leave somebody with, a room full of random shit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
That they know
You don't
nothing
know
about.
That they know nothing
Care
about.
nothing about. Yeah. My mom's grandfather was a pretty well-known stamp collector. Getting back to collecting stamps, there's a connection there. He had one of the better stamp collections in the United States through like the 60s and 70s and stuff. But then he got sick and he passed away. And my grandmother detested the stamp collection. I mean, there was real animosity about the stamp collection there at times. And she's left with a stamp collection that she had hated for years, had no idea what to do with it. She had to kind of rely on some of his contacts, and they ripped her off big time.
Yeah.
We found out later on that some of them pulled shit, and paid her, nothing. They'd send the books back half empty and be like, "Yeah, I don't really need any of this stuff." It's like, there were more stamps than this in there before. So yeah, you're exactly right. Giving somebody this stuff, can get left on someone. And I don't mean to go way down this tunnel or get it too bleak or anything.
Well, it's not bleak. It's realistic.
Yeah, it is something that'll happen.
Pragmatic.
Part of me does kind of, was actually afraid of. Okay, well, if I die, they'll probably just take all this shit to the pawn shop or to a random record store. And I was just like, oh, that would suck. But then when I really think about it, who does it suck for? Like, my mom doesn't need the money. So if she took this shit down to a local record store or a pawn shop, that just means the next guy that comes into that pawn shop or that record store is going to luck up on a whole bunch of fucking awesome shit. You know? So it doesn't really make a difference. It's one way or the other.
Yep. My blue snaggletooth action figure is now part of the engagement ring that my wife wears. I think the blue one is the Sears one.
You guys, you Yankee Blue Jeans, you guys know about this because this is the Canadian, right? This is the Canadian offering. Yeah. No, listen, I've got the whole rack, but yeah, this thing I told Rachel, my wife, I was like, if shit goes down, this is going to be your ticket out because this thing, especially, do you guys have the dented toe? This is real nerdy now, guys. I know this is a record show, but is yours a dented toe?
I don't remember if mine was the dented toe or not.
The dented toe. Oh no, let's really get nerdy here, kids.
Is that the Vader head collector case? Holy shit.
Yeah, mine's a dented toe, and that is worth an awful lot. Does it have a dented toe?
I think mine was the smooth toe.
Just look at it. Just look. This show is taking a drastic turn.
There's dents.
There should be a dent on the left foot.
Kind of like a toe.
Oh, they're the same. They're the same.
Oh my.
I'll take my shit and leave.
Yeah.
Collection when I play with a child.
But
the thing of it is with Star Wars shit, I mean, Mike's not here right now, but the thing that everything is cyclical, but with Star Wars, the problem with Star Wars collecting and toys and shit, we lived through the good era. It has been around long enough now to get really shitty, and it's kind of fucked all of our childhoods like a Catholic priest. And it's just bad. It's bad.
It's been shitty longer than it's been good. That's for sure.
Yeah, Star Wars. I mean, I like The Mandalorian, but this whole Boba Fett series has been really kind of lame.
I'm not even going to go there because I'm going to get really angry. And now, fuck you all, because I want an answer. None of this bullshit.
Yeah,
Gun
let's
to
go.
your head,
Let's go
Alan.
question.
What
I got
is
my
the
one.
Okay, let me go get mine. Everyone go get their record. And,
I got mine.
Okay.
For the record, I agree with you, Marty. Boba
What?
Fett was trash.
It's boring as shit. The
Super
writing was
boring.
terrible, and they had to bring back Mandalorian shit to
Let
get
me get
people
another beer.
interested again. You know,
Agreed.
I understand what they did with Luke Skywalker. They had to like pull from old dialogue to get his voice, but the whole thing was just like, oh, a nostalgia trip. It's going to make all the fans happy. It was annoying as fuck. It was terrible, and it just proved that he was a shitty teacher. Not only did he fuck up Kylo Ren, he fucked up that little baby Yoda dude. He couldn't train either of them. He fucking sucks. He should just shut up and milk those whatever those blue titted things on that island.
Milk, yeah. Wait, what are we grabbing? I grabbed the 3 to 5. I didn't grab.
I just grabbed some shit that I've spent money on or appreciate.
Yeah.
You know,
It doesn't have to be worth. It doesn't have to be worth money. It can be worth 25 cents at a thrift shop. It doesn't matter. It's what you think is so goddamn important.
The one item, if you can keep only one.
Mark, I have not gone down the Britney Spears hole. Sorry. Ooh, that sounded bad.
You don't want to Britney Spears hole. I don't mind taking one for the team.
All right, so Pat is Mike. Why don't you start? Why don't you show some records?
Wait, so the 3 to 5 that we talked about, or
Mike,
this
Mike,
one that I would
shit
grab?
is a fire. Shit is a fire. On my show, we do something called, called Drag Me to Hell, and you pick 5 records.
Which I'm very salty that I have not been on yet.
Same.
No,
Yeah.
listen, guys, you've appeared on it, Pat. I stole shit from your show, and I worked it into for my own benefit. I got something happening, but I got to get Mikey on Bananas, and I got to get Metal Theologian back. But we're going to do a big Dungeons and Dragons themed episode soon.
I can't wait for that. You know I love that
it's
shit.
going to be huge. It's going to be an epic. There's going to be a score written. This is how big it's going to be. Mike, are you in? Because I feel that we haven't broke down enough. I feel that you and I have to have an intimate show first. It's going to be awkward. It might be a little bit awkward. But
I'm the king of awkward. So
I'm going to have a bowl, and we'll have a topic bowl when shit goes wrong. We'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
New Zealand.
That worked for me.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do this. But all I want to know, what are you saving? Just this one gift you're giving mankind, and why? You got to give a why. Don't be flippant about it. And don't be an asshole. Why are you giving this to them? I know. I'm asking. Yeah, but Lando, you're asking for commitment.
I would just freak out and leave everything. I don't like if someone put a gun to my head and was like, "You have to pick one, or you're just gonna die." I'm a goner, man. I can't pick with just one.
I gotta go pee, or I'm gonna die.
No, but listen to me, Mike. Something that you goddamn worthwhile that you just want to pass on to the human race and says, this is what I loved and this is why I loved it so much. Now you might change next week. That's fine.
Phillip, why don't you
you go first.
You go first and set a good example for the rest of us.
You guys know, anyone that knows me, and I'm going to do a whole show on it, and I've got a whole shtick about it. But anyone knows me knows what I'm going to pick, right? And it's clearly this.
Fine choice.
I don't like Megadeth. Sorry.
Good choice.
You don't like this album? You hate it?
I don't like Megadeth at all. I never have.
Okay. No, I get it. I absolutely
One of those
get
bands.
it. This record is what it is to be human. This is a record like Dave Mustaine, his whole legacy and his story. He is imperfect. He is about being.
Uh-oh.
I think we broke the internet.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like he is about like Satan, as you know, like the whole biblical version of who Satan is. He's like so gorgeous. He's the most beautiful angel. Metallica were ugly trolls. Dave was gorgeous. You know what I mean? And he was the front man and he spoke, but he flew too close to the sun. and they didn't like it, and they tossed his fucking ass out, and he went home on a fucking Greyhound. And then he created a metal album. And if there's anything about metal that like vengeance, fury. Shut up, Pat. That's fucking hilarious. It's good
Sorry,
stuff. He's
go ahead.
Vengeance.
Go off.
Go
off,
King. He wants to beat them. He wants to kill them. He wants to destroy their legacy. This is heaven versus hell. And Metallica, goddammit, had heaven. They were loved. They were celebrated. And to this day, everyone was like, I hate Dave Mustaine's voice. I hate, he's a fucking Ted Nugent thrash guy. Fuck you. This guy, this is perfect. It sounds like shit because
hey, whoa, stop. It does not sound like shit. That is the best produced drum sound Gar ever had. He fucking rages on that album, and they ruined his performance on Peace Cells with so much fucking reverb. Right there. That album you're holding in your hands is, of the early albums, is the chef's kiss of the Megadeth.
Right to me, it's heavy metal. And that I'm not a jazz guy, but what I understand about jazz, and if that's what jazz is, well, fucking sign me up, dude. Because this shit is unpredictable.
So what you're saying is jazz is heroin?
Oh, it's heroin.
It's definitely heroin.
This is drug-addled. It's imperfect. It's human. And every vice you could possibly imagine is represented on this album. And this is pure heavy metal.
That's a great record. I agree with you. I love that record. I love the drum sound. I love the performance on it. The Mechanic song I could have lived without. These boots are fun, but it's
no. Listen, okay, I understand. Like if it had my last words on this, it would be the ultimate. But no. This is, in my opinion, the greatest album ever written.
All right, I'm gonna go get an album because you're making me feel bad because I didn't have one for you.
Well, this is a sidetrack. This is a sidetrack.
Yeah,
none of us were prepared for this one.
I wasn't prepared for class. I'll be right back. I can still hear you guys though.
Do I have class? Did
class.
I finally get class?
You were holding class. Okay, Patrick, what have you got? What is your save from the flames?
All right, so tough. The S's are right behind me, and there's so many good bands that start with S. First, I went with the Sam Haines November Coming Fire, and I was like, God, really good, but
it's good.
Not quite there. Almost grabbed a couple different Sepultura records. I'm going to go with Sheer Terror's Just Can't Hate Enough. This came out 89, I think, on Blackout Records. And Chromie, if you haven't heard this,
I'm writing it down, you dickhead. I'm writing it down.
Good. Okay. Sheer Terror is basically a New York hardcore band that stole Celtic Frost riffs, the Celtic Frost guitar sound. Even some of the kind of more like melodic singing on this is like this kind of crooning. Like you can tell it's a little bit influenced by some metal and like Tom G. Warrior stuff. It's all lyrics about hating yourself and hating everyone else and drinking hard and like fighting society or something like that. It's just rad. Like it's just like a bunch of like dudes with like short hair and leather jackets from New York stealing Celtic Frost riffs and merging it with like Negative Approach or like one of those kind of bands, Agnostic Front, like that kind of thing.
And Anthrax promo photos. That looks
pretty much. Well, they're from New York. They're going to take pictures in the subway. It's like half of the population of the music scene from various genres did that. But yeah, it's sick. Some of the best riffs ever. So good.
Okay, so that's what you're giving the world, Pat. I'm writing this shit down.
Yeah, and some of the best lyrics too.
Take notes. This is exciting for all of us.
I sort of poo-pooed the lyrics, like ironically, but like Paul Bearer is one of the best people that writes about like loss and depression and just the ugly human experience. Just and his stage banter shit's like kind of like Don Rickles-y. It's real like insult comic. Sometimes it goes on longer than the songs. Like it's you should look that up too. It's pretty entertaining. It's fucking funny guy. he's a big fan of like country and soul and stuff, and DJs, that kind of stuff. And you can see the influence it has on the lyrics, like that kind of, he listens to a lot of old like country and soul shit, just from his approach to like love shit and lost, mixed with Celtic Frost. Fucking great.
Oh, you got me, Pat. I'm in. I'm on board.
All right,
All
Mike.
right.
Now that we've shifted gears here, what do you got?
Yeah, now that you've shamed me into finding something, I mean, I feel like anyone that knows me knows what I'm gonna pick. It's between one.
I know it's gonna have David Tibet on it.
You know what? You're wrong. You're wrong, Marty.
Yes,
It
controversy.
was gonna be David Tibet, but it's not. I mean, I feel like it would have to be this.
Oh, that's a good record.
Yeah.
I feel like
Great album.
as cliche as it is, I genuinely feel like this is the greatest album ever written.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
One of them.
People say they like The Cure, and it's cool to say I like The Cure, but I don't know how many people have really sat down and like actually studied this album. The lyrics on this are absolutely brilliant. The songwriting is untouchable, but some of the things that Robert Smith writes in this, like, it's easier for me to get closer to heaven than ever feel whole again. Like, that is some of the most heart-wrenching real shit.
Oh, fuck yeah.
That anyone's ever written. So yeah, I mean, it would be easy for me to go a Tibet record, Marty, but I feel like this album would be more beneficial to the world than Tibet's bizarre squealing,
That's awesome. But what Robert Smith said, the most proudest moment of his life is when he was on South Park, and they said it was the greatest record ever written.
That's funny.
Robert Smith.
All right.
If I could grab two, Marty, then yes.
Well, I've got several here, and I'm not going to conform to just one.
Oh, well then.
No,
okay,
you
fine.
Barbecuetioner is not the boss
We're all
of me.
picking one. You got to pick one too. None of this.
All right. I can do it.
None of this. It takes a tribe bullshit, Marty. One.
Your urethra is going to be on fire in our hell if you keep this shit up. Marty.
All right, Phillip, what have you got? What is your contribution to the world?
He already did his.
You did? Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look
Fuck
at
that guy then. Ellen, you're up.
Okay.
After my fucking speech, you mother.
Let's got this ball rolling downhill, and it's heading straight towards you next, Marty. My contribution to the world is think about it for a minute, but yeah, pretty easy. It's going to be this. Part one, and it because in terms of not my personal favorite album, it is an album that I have played for a lot of people in high school and even college and stuff, and they may not even be into heavy metal very much, but there's something about this album that resonates with them and makes them feel happy. It's still got great, guitar, fast, it's speedy. You got all the twin guitar dueling and everything. It's, solid German power speed metal, but it's not angry. It's not hateful. It's not, raging, crap, Satan, blah, nuclear holocaust. People listen to this and they feel good about themselves. I've mentioned before, this album has helped keep friends out of, skinhead gangs. This album has helped friends who were having a real shitty time with parents who were burying them with all kinds of religious stuff and other heavy shit that shouldn't be dropped on kids. This is an album that helps people and makes them happy. And but to make it special, just to make it a little bit special, I want to package it in the original long box for you.
Oh, fuck you, Alan.
Oh shit, long box.
Mine was stuck to my wall and got ripped down and thrown in the dumpster. Yeah.
Here we are. Yep. Original
I hate
long
that
box.
album because when I was a skinhead and I was molesting my parents, I was having a great time, and then they found that album.
Pumpkin save.
It fucking ruined it.
Pumpkin save.
It fucking ruined everything.
All right.
That's my one. Okay, Marty. One.
That's a good one.
One.
One only.
One only.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with this. This pretty much, this album kind of sizes up my high school years, my descent into heavier metal, thrash, and whatnot, and it encompasses a lot. I love this compilation, and if the house was on fire, I would grab it. It is Doomsday News, the first Doomsday News album.
What the fuck is that?
Generation of heavy metal. Sonoy's Records early comp.
Oh, it's Noise. Okay, all right. I know there's some good shit on there.
Well, you've got Scanners, fucking Galactos. Come on. You got Rage, Before the Storm, Death Row, Scattered by the Wind, Corner, Arrogance and Uniform, Tankards, Total Addiction, Sabbath, Hosanna and Exodus, Halloween Starlight, Vendetta, Celtic Frost, Creator, Voivod. All the shit that today still, all these bands still really resonate with me today. This comp is perfect. I listen to it for fun. I listen to it for nostalgic reasons. I listen to it because it's fucking awesome. The Germans, I mean, this label, you know, after having read the book and hearing how Walter Bach kind of, you know, screwed some people around, but he was a business guy. I get it, whatever. But this album rules, and he put out some awesome heavy metal. And this is a great album.
Nice
So
choice.
look at us, man. We are just giving
To the people.
Yes. And as Myke alluded to earlier, we did ask each of you to pick, you know, a handful, a few items from your collection you like to show off. They don't have to be rare. They don't have to be expensive. Just things you like that, you know, you wanted to show to folks from your collection, just, you know, for a little bit of fun, a little bit of show and tell. Myke, you want to start us on that one?
Sure. I'll try to zoom through these because I think I have 5 here. You said 3 to 5. I'm always going to go the highest number. So
That's perfectly fine.
Alan, you should have told me just 3.
That doesn't matter. I didn't want to pin folks down to a number. They could pick just a few. We'll make it qualitative, and folks can do what they need to.
So the first thing that is a really important record for me. This is actually my very first 7-inch. This is me
Good
season
record.
to me.
Yes.
It wasn't my first, you know, piece of music or whatever, but this was like the very first 7-inch that I ever got, and that led me into buying tons and tons and tons of records. And what's special about this, real quick, is because I bought this, and back in the day, the bands would have their addresses and shit inside, and I wrote them a letter, and they actually wrote me back saying, you know, hey man, thanks a lot for buying our record. It means a lot.
That's killer.
You know what I mean? And that is part of what I was talking about earlier with supporting bands. I owe a lot of that to this record, and it is a fucking incredible record.
Oh, it's so good.
It's a very strange record, but it's great.
I wish
I'm taking notes.
Did you ever see them, Myke?
Unfortunately, I didn't. They played with Unbroken in like 94, maybe, and a bunch of people were driving to DC to see it.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, abso-fucking-lutely not.
Yeah, I was lucky because I lived, you know, in Syracuse. So they came through with Outspoken and Unbroken not long after that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. Anyway.
And real quick, sticking on that note, this is a comp as well.
Oh yeah.
And
Pat sent me that on tape, actually.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
This was the first thing that I got that was like hardcore that really got me into the entire thing. Like I got this, and what I was talking about earlier is I opened it up and I'm like, oh, I'm weird. Look at these motherfuckers, man. Look at that guy. Look at that fucking asshole, you know? But I fell in love with this record, and I'm still in love with this record. I listen to it fairly regularly. You know, yeah, I mean, there's so much good stuff on here. This next record, real quick, I'm only showing this because this actually kind of goes to the part of record collecting that I don't like, which is price gouging and flipping.
Oh, yeah.
And creating artificial scarcity with records.
Yeah.
This is a Death Grips record that I have. Bought this when it came out. And this record, I think I paid, I don't know, maybe $20 for it. The last time this sold on Discogs, it sold for $898.
Holy shit, fuck.
Which I think is absolute garbage. I think it's fucking stupid. I think it's stupid.
Wow.
And the thing is, if I was in a band like this, I would hate that. And I would immediately press more copies if there's motherfuckers out there paying that kind of money for my music. Because I want everybody to have my shit. So why would I want someone to pay almost $1,000 for one record? It's fucking
Austin
cool.
from Panopticon puts up with that crap. It drives him nuts. The flippers are selling the shit for hundreds of dollars online when we've got represses in the works.
Right.
It drives him nuts.
It's fucking insane. It's insane, and I don't get it. And I didn't even know that record was worth that much until maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
Somebody online asked if I had a copy. I said yes. They're like, you want to sell it? And I was like, no. And I was like, why? Just go buy one. And he's like, oh, go look and see what it sells for. I was like, you guys are fucking idiots, dude. You guys are idiots. The last record, I mean, I have to include this. This is Current 93. This is one of my all-time favorite albums. And
cool cover.
Actually signed by Tibet, personalized to me. And, everyone that knows me, it's either The Cure or Current 93. And David Tibet is probably one of my biggest influences as far as artistry, as far as life lessons, that type of shit. So, yeah, this is an extremely important album to me. If no one's heard it, please go check it out.
I never heard it, man. I never heard it at all, Mike.
It's bizarre industrial mixed with like neo-folk.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very odd. And surprisingly enough, if you meet a metal dude and he tells you he likes neo-folk, it's going to be either Current 93 or Death in June.
Death in June.
It's going to be one of those two bands. And they probably don't even really like
the first time I ever heard Dave Tibet was on Rose Clouds of Holocaust, which I love that record. I know that's not the cool thing to say, but
no, it's a fantastic album.
Let me write down neo-folk. What the fuck?
I'm
sorry, guys. I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
I got a lot of work to do, Mike.
It's like goth with acoustic guitars.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike. Sorry. I got excited. I got excited for a minute.
You did not cut me off, Marty. Not at all. But yes, for some reason, Current 93 really appeals to metal dudes. And last time I saw Godflesh, I was like, I don't know. I was kind of bored, to be honest. And I just started wandering, like looking around or whatever. And he had a Current 93 tattoo on his leg, like a huge one. And like I said, anytime you meet metal dudes, if they're like, oh yeah, I'm in the neo-folk, it's going to be Current 93 or Death in June.
Yeah.
So, but the ones that say Current 93 take them more seriously. Because the ones that say Death in June, they only like them because the dude is sort of sketchy.
See, I'm not into that shit. I just like the music and the feel of Death in June.
Oh, I'm not talking about you, Marty. You're not a dipshit.
No. Well, no, I'm not. I will try not to be, although I probably am. But I mean, Rose Clouds of Holocaust is a great album.
I'm trying to get in the water, but I got floaties on, man.
Yeah, if we're talking about strictly music, yeah, Marty, Death in June is great. But when someone's like, I only like Death in June, but I don't like anything else. It's like, ding, 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 red flag. You're fucking full of shit, But,
same thing with dudes that are into Oi that only like Death in June. Like,
yeah, that's
okay.
Weird. Yeah, it's like, I see what this is. But yeah, I'm stopping there.
Right on. Okay. Phillip, what do you got? Show some records.
Like fun shit?
I don't know.
Yeah.
These are things that mean something to you. This isn't like save the world type shit.
You can show the
no. We got the save the world shit out of the way, and you guys with your Oi folk and shit.
I want to see some. I want to see some fishnets in those Snake Plissken boots.
Oh, I deserve that. No, this for me is one of my favorite records of all time. And the fact that I got to hang out, not just as a fan, to hang out with George Romero when I was working was really important to me. And I am a huge horror fan. And my Day of the Dead was signed by Tom Savini, Greg Nicotero. If you're a horror fan, you know what this means. But this record, I mean, I'm a hugger, guys. I'm a lovable.
I'm a hugger too. I'm a hugger.
I am a hugger too. And
family.
I went to George. And he was like drunk on vodka, and I was like, dude, I'm drunk too. My slushie right here, I am fucked. And he laughed his ass off. And we were like hugging, and I was like, dude, like, you made one of the greatest movies of all time. And yeah, so he did that. So this record for me is really important. If we're going to flex a little bit, if we're going to have some fun, I've showed this on my show a couple of times. Anthrax is one of my favorite bands. This is an original, not that bullshit repress. This is an original Neil Turbin. Like, everything about this is, it just changed me. And then I haven't showed this on my show, but I showed it on Old Head, Metal Massacre. And this is not a bullshit like second or third. This is the real deal. And you can see how Metallica is, how it's spelled there. This is the Lloyd Grant version. Like,
nice.
To me, and Metallica sound like absolute horse shit on this. It's hilarious. But it's such a fun record. And these are like, to me, it's an important record. And it got me into like more obscure records. Right? So yeah, that's stuff. If I'm going to have one more to offer you, there was a time when I only owned 2 records. That Star Wars flip book that I had. And I know there's going to be a lot of people here that had this, that were inspired by it.
Yes.
The first wrestling album. Dude, gatefold. All right. So I got a funny story about that. Now, I'm such a Roddy Piper fan that I named my daughter Piper. I can't find my pile driver. It's somewhere in the mix here. But my friend was a Make-A-Wish kid. He was dying. So when you came to Labrador, you ain't getting Hulk Hogan. Right?
Right.
Who did they send to Labrador? They sent Coco Beware. Anyone remember Coco Beware?
Of course.
Yeah.
The Birdman.
The Birdman.
Yeah.
So if I could find my pile driver, I forged his signature. It told everyone that I was a Make-A-Wish kid.
That's terrible.
That's evil. That's like super villain shit.
I stole his identity and said, yeah, I was a Make-A-Wish kid. And it's funny because the signature is like what a grade 5 learns what a KO is. You know what I mean? It's like to Phillip from Coco. And so my friends believed it to this day. And I told them that Coco Beware gave me a pass to WrestleMania 4. It was the worst lie ever told. And I still have it. Oh, Jesus Christ. I could
You're
go on.
Super villain. You're super villain material, my friend.
Well, but yeah. But to me, that record is worth way more than a pristine copy because that it's signed by fake Coco Beware, because the impulse or the motivation behind it is just a better story than a real Coco Beware signature. Grab them cakes. Yes. Yeah. Fuck Everybody by Roddy Piper. Did you guys seriously have this record?
Me?
I didn't have it. A lot of my friends did.
I wish I did. I remember wanting it.
Oh, dude, this is like old school. Like Meatloaf is on this. We're going back to Meatloaf. Fuck you, Aaron. And we got Cyndi Lauper here.
Yeah.
Got look at this. Look at this. Fucking Nikolai Volkov singing the Russian national anthem. This shit is fucking
such a good heel,
dude. Like this
such a good heel.
This is so good, man. So good. Right? And you got Cara Mia. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know. Maybe this is the one I should have picked as a gift to the world.
There's a Make-A-Wish for the world. Stolen.
Yeah, but you know what the fucking hilarious part is? That motherfucker lived. That's a deal breaker. If you're a Make-A-Wish kid,
what an asshole.
Yeah,
How dare
if you're a
he?
Make-A-Wish kid, your ass better die.
He turned heel by staying alive.
Yeah, he was a heel. Yeah,
God.
exactly, Patrick.
Oh,
you know, Coco
no.
Beware should have showed up at his fucking house and erased his fucking signature.
Fucking
At
pile
least-
drived him.
It's the Labrador screw job.
I guess the Undertaker and Papa Shango just weren't available to actually make.
No, right? But I was like, dude, you could at least send Tito Santana.
All right, Alan, what have you got to
Oh, no,
show?
we skipped Patrick.
Shit.
Let's get Patrick in the mix.
Sorry, I've had
I-
6 White Claws.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
No idea how I'm gonna follow that.
Little
shit
buzzed here.
The Catalina wine fucking
Yeah.
convention.
up. All right. Talking about comps, not the OG, but man, the Metal Massacre comps were fucking solid. Like this one, I just got this one.
I need that one.
It's great, man. It starts with Swing of the Axe by Possessed, but it's some demo version that's really raw and real
cool.
fucking brutal. That's really good. Nasty Savage, Triple X, Steel Assassin, Executioner. Obviously not the Trevu Mayhem, but Mayhem, Tear Down the Walls, Hades, Easy Way Out. You got Hallows Eve, Hyrax, Bombs of Death, Kate and Katana,
Yeah.
fucking National Treasure, Pathfinder, Fountain Keeper.
That's the
Really
deep cut
early
on that
version
album.
of
That
Dark
rules.
Angel, Welcome to the Slaughterhouse. The Obsessed, there's an Obsessed track on here that sounds great, and then Martyr. On the back, it's a gravestone. James Q. Poser is dead thanks to this comp. 1960 to 1984. Fuck that guy, he's dead. James Q.
Yeah, he's a
Poser.
piece of shit.
That Fountain Keeper track rips.
Eric,
it's the
Eric,
hidden
just
gem.
imagine how skinny I'm going to be after I drink these fucking White Claws, though.
I'm on the fucking moose heads from My Bloody Valentine.
Fucking moose heads, eh?
Thrash Metal Attack.
Oh, I have that on
Oh.
tape. I have that one on tape.
Yeah, it's great. Anvil Bitch, Rabid, Defcon, Postmortem. Been in a comp mood, obviously, lately. Necrophagia, Blood Feast, Necropolis, that band from Atlanta. That
You know what? That is amazing.
Analog
'cause that-
Archives.
yeah,
like,
you turned me on to that fucking shit. Rules.
Mine too. Me too. I got it. Hell Witch is on here. Torture Chamber.
Pat,
Wehrmacht.
that is a dirtbag album. That right you're holding
Oh,
right there
you
is
think?
a dirtbag album.
You know what? It's a dirtbag album when the skeleton with hair is smoking a cigarette. on the cover.
Yeah, I've said it before. There are some albums that is the equivalent of that dude in the arcade that says "Smell my fingers." It's just fine. That is a dirty album that you have right there. Gross.
Yeah, like this guy was really, really good at Pit Fighter and like
Oh, yeah.
got laid because of his skills at Pit Fighter in like 1990. He was an
Does
actual
that
person,
happen?
the skull
Does
guy.
that happen? I don't think that
Oh,
happened.
you weren't there, Marty. It's an inside joke. You had to be there.
This is a bootleg. Cannibal Corpse. They explained what a cannibal corpse is on this, an undead corpse that's going to eat you. And it's the 89 demo with
Oh, it's got a pot leaf on it. Fucking sweet.
Wow.
fucking heavy, bro. 89 demo with the Created to Kill sessions. That's like the sessions that they scrapped before George Corpse Grinder Fisher joined the band.
We're talking about a dirtbag album. There you go.
We left off Hymen Rupturer. We didn't feel that it suited the album.
Which this is cool. Sounds good and all that. I bought it like around the time last week or the week before where like Chris Barnes was being an idiot on the internet. So I was like, oh, I remember when he was like relevant. Remember that?
Are we
Here's a
against?
record.
Are we against Chris Barnes now? I just want to take a poll here in the
Who
chat.
cares? Who cares?
Nah.
I
No.
love Chris Barnes.
Oh, he was fucking great when he sang for that band.
I was great when I was 21 too.
Skyclad. This I got for $10 on Amazon, the second Skyclad record.
God, you've been
Is
like
this-
raking
this-
in the fucking deals, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, I didn't know that this was an LP. Like I thought I was ordering a compact disc, and this showed up at my door like an OG. It's a little partied on, a little beat up, but like
Yeah,
plays
so
pretty
killer.
well. Great, you know, thrash metal with violin before they got to. They were pretty Ren Fair early on. They weren't quite like over the mountain Ren Fair with this. Like
Is this
You
the
didn't-
Skyclad you were talking about, Marty?
Yeah. Same band.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it's Martin Walker post
Jesus
Sabbath.
Christ.
Post
look at
Sabbath.
these
Yeah.
guys.
Sabbath.
How many do they have there?
It's like Earth, Wind, and Fire of England.
there are 6 people in this band. Like they had a violin player and like keyboard player or something.
And Yannick Gears. Yannick Gears.
And then
I hated this
Annihilated-
band. I hate this band.
Really?
I find them so offensive.
What is offensive about this? It's just
I
like
don't know.
metal records.
Everything. There's just something about this band that has always bothered me.
The logo.
Oh wait. Okay.
No,
I
even their
see that
mascot,
where-
that sketchy, schizophrenic like art that they have on the cover. It's
Okay.
I've never been comfortable with this band.
Everyone from Newfoundland should be destroyed. I get that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put this away. That's fucked up, man. That's not cool. I didn't know.
It's terrible. No, it's just something about that band has always pissed me off.
Oh, weird. I don't know. Like to me, it's kind of like Broken Bones and like early Sacrilege and Virus. It's that sort of like we used to have like big spiky mohawks, and we discovered thrash metal like last
Hell
year.
Bastard.
Like,
Hell Bastard.
Hell Bastard. Yeah, it's like crossover from the UK kind of thing where it's not well played. Like it's super like trebly guitars, and I find a certain charm in that. I could see why a lot of people might think this is like I looked up some reviews on Metal Archives, and they're like, "Oh my god, the guitar tone on this is awful," and I was like, "I'm gonna love it." Like reading that, I'm like, "Nuclear Assault, Game Over." Fucking love that record. Like, what else you got for me that sounds like absolute shit? Like,
You know what? That never struck me as shit because the songwriting is so good and they had such a unique style.
Yeah, that's true. But there's a few other examples.
Don't ruin that album for me. Don't ruin it.
Who was the porn star in their video? Who was that porn star?
Seika? I don't know.
No way. It wasn't Seika.
And Thrash?
I'm saying
Thrash?
Seika because of the band, but
No, I'm just waiting for like the ghouls in the comments in the balcony crowd. They'll know. I can't remember who she was, but it was a porn star in their videos.
I also bought this Anthrax demos.
Oh shit! Holy fuck, dude!
Now I'm winning you back. There he is.
Yeah.
There's my buddy. Come on,
You
back
know how to
up.
win me back with either Laws Rocket or old school Anthrax. Look at that has Greg in the band there too.
Yeah, this is cool. Because it was actually fucking Craig Satari from Sick of It All's older brother. Oh, excuse me. That was in the band.
Everybody in the
before
chat saying Christy Canyon.
Christy.
The OG.
No, it wasn't Christy
Eric said
Canyon.
that.
F you. No way.
Brian
Give it up,
Arkman.
Eric. Go back to bed.
Brian, 2 people said Christy Canyon. So
No, it's not Christy Canyon. I'm trying to get fucking crazy. I love Christy Canyon. I'm getting mad now. Jesus.
No, dude.
Christy Canyon.
But yeah, it's cool. Like this is like mostly songs from Fistful of Metal played like way slower, and I'm here for it. Like shit sounds great. It's wicked good.
And
I bought
Fistful
Bell
of
and
Metal is
Sebastian.
Anthrax's greatest record.
Oh,
Thank you.
agreed, 100%.
I agree.
And hey, Bell and Sebastian. Okay, let's move on.
I like Fistful of Metal, but I also like Persistence of Time quite a bit. Big fan of
Bookends.
that.
God, what a
Bookends
boring
to the
album.
80s and 90s.
No, it's dark.
No, it's
you
like
just
a
don't get it.
protester
You just
album.
don't
It's a
get it.
No, they're just like, we
Phil.
care. We protest.
Phil.
Fuck
It's
off.
mature.
No.
It's mature. It's
No, I'm
mature.
sorry, guys. Guys, I'm all about big titty mermaids and fucking sorcerers. that is not
I'm
what
not
I'm
mad.
about.
Like those are great things, but I'm also into Bellies of Beasts. What do you?
All right,
have?
what do you got, Phillip?
I just show you a goddamn fucking wrestling album. Now you want me to put on?
Oh
something
no, I
else?
don't. Forget you. A wrestling album. I'm gonna go, Alan.
All right.
Professor Steele.
Professor Steel. Come on, Turok the dinosaur hunter.
Turok, son of stone. All right. I pulled just kind of a lot of different random stuff that is oddball or kind of different for whatever reason. First one is this weird thing. It's a special edition of the third Danzig album, How the Gods Kill. But
Right.
it comes in this weird packaging where it's actually 3-dimensional. the artwork's
Whoa.
all been kind of uplifted, like those, it's just that thin, puffy plastic kind of stuff.
I have
My
that.
birthday is coming up. Just saying.
But yeah, it's pretty neat. It's got the, it came with, the album, of course, but it's, packaged a little differently for the CD. And you got a VHS that came with it for, How the Gods Kill. So it was one of those just random things I found on eBay once upon a time. Just like, it's really cool. I love that album quite a bit. And yeah, I just always thought it was kind of neat that it had the artwork with it in this kind of neat thing. Again, it's really thin. One corner's filled up a little bit and all that. But yeah, it's one of these random collectible kind of things that I've got laying around. So it's missing from the box for reasons. Next thing, a couple of weird Sabotage CDs that you don't see very often. This one is just a cardboard thing. It's just a promo. It's a live
I hate those
album. Yeah, they're kind of annoying. It's called Live Devastation. And yeah, the weird thing with this
rude ass titties.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Now that, Patrick, is what we should be into. Fucking
I am
gross
into this.
shit.
Yeah. But this was something that was supposed to be put out on Metal Blade, which is kind of weird because Sabotage weren't really signed to Metal Blade, which may be why this thing never came to fruition, but they only made up promo copies of it. But it is a killer live set. Live Sabotage there from the Mountain King era. Every live show I've heard from that era by Sabotage is just absolutely insanely good. And this one's no exception. It's got a great track list, great sound quality, killer performances. It's a real shame that it never got fully pressed up. The only way you could get this that I know of was ordering it directly from the Metal Blade catalog, which, I had gotten a copy of and saw it in there. Just like, the hell is that? They got a live Sabotage albums? It was like $5. It was like, well, fuck that. I'll give $5 for that. And just, yeah, odd Sabotage one you don't see. This other one is another one that never really got released. It was supposed to come out after Streets, and it's kind of an anthology collection. It's called From the Dungeons to the Streets.
I love it when there's roses on a heavy metal guitar. That's just
oh, fuck you. This is a great album.
This is a level of class that,
yeah.
But yeah, it's sort of just, it was sort of a anthology best of kind of stuff. It's got a few live tracks on it from that era, a few songs from Gutter Ballet, a few from Streets. The thing that was, but it never got officially released. They did up promo copies of it, sent them out to college radio stations and all that, but then the project got scrapped. And this drove me nuts for years because I heard this. They played one of the live songs on it on college radio. So like, oh shit, that's cool, live Sabotage track. And they said, after a couple of songs went by, like, yeah, and that was a live Sabotage cut from the forthcoming album From the Gutter to the Stage, or no, sorry, From the Dungeons to the Streets. Later on, they did a 2 CD thing called From the Gutter to the Stage, and it wasn't very good. It was kind of a mixed bag of stuff. But the DJ had very clearly said From the Dungeons to the Streets. I looked for this fucking thing for like 6 years. I was like, they played it on the radio. They had a copy. I'm not insane. I dubbed it off the radio that night. It's real. It's there somewhere. And one day I'm sitting in, again, talk about digging and finding it, sitting in a used CD bin for $8 one day. There it was. It's the only time I've ever seen it.
There's no roses in the dungeon. There's no fucking roses in the dungeon.
That record, that CD should come with tinsel around it and fiber optics going through it.
Excuse me.
Fuck you, Eric. Fuck you. I'm not calming down for your ass.
The next random thing I pulled was one of the only cassettes that I still have. This was a done cassette release by a band called Charlotte's Web. They were active in the Toledo.
What a bad name. Wow.
Well, the trick here is the lead vocalist and guitarist was a woman named Charlotte Webb Swenson.
All right, there you go. Okay.
And so, yeah. And
her husband was Buster Brown.
The thing that was a big deal with this was that they were the only heavy band in the Northwest Ohio area when I lived up there. It was grunge, stuff had taken over. There were no heavy bands except for Charlotte's Web. They played kind of I guess you describe it as crossover thrash. It has some hardcore elements to it, but it's fun. It actually was very well done. This was the first tape they did. They stuck around. They did another album. Then they changed their name to 5 Story Fall. The thing with this is that I've never been able to find or get this on a digital copy. I've looked on every now and then I'll go through the internet, poke around. The second demo is out there to be found. Some of the 5 Story Fall tracks are out there to be checked out. I've never been able to find anyone who digitized the first tape. This one's from spring of 1993. It's just not around, but it's a good listen. I always enjoyed it. And yeah, sentimental favorite is the only heavy band in town, literally.
So,
Alan, can I ask you a question? Do you have, speaking of Buster Brown, which I was being a wise ass earlier, do you have Sign of Victory tape?
Do I have, I'm sorry, what, Phillip?
Buster Brown's Sign of Victory that had Streetwalker on it.
I don't have it.
Oh man, I've been looking for that. Oh man, it's one of my favorite songs.
That I don't, sorry. I've got to show something. New wave of British heavy metalish. So we'll show an old copy of Venom's Black Metal.
Is it pink? But
it's great.
Marble.
Yeah, nice.
Marbled vinyl. It is one of the easier to find colored variants, but still kind of cool. The fun story with this one was that this was an eBay auction ending in the spring of '99 sometime. And where I was living, no computer, no internet access, but really good friend at the time was like, hey, well, just come on over to work. She's like, when's it? I was talking about it. It's like, shit. Because back then you really had to, it was all the bid sniping stuff. You didn't have, robots to put in your bids for you at the last minute. So it's like, man, I could put in a bid tonight, but then it's, I'm just going to get outbid at the last second. She's like, well, fuck, just come over to where I work in the morning. What time does it close? Like 8:33 a.m. Eastern time. She's like, that's perfect. Come over to where I work. You can enter the bid right before I have to actually start. The trick was she taught at the local high school for like a special ed class, but they had a computer dedicated for her room for her, special ed kids to use. So yeah, the next morning at like 8:32, they're bringing you all these, kids with special needs and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there on the computer just hovering, waiting to put that bid in, like when the clock gets down to like 3 seconds, and end up buying black metal on gray vinyl while all these kids are coming in and just looking at me like
in the special ed room. In the special ed room.
It was, and just like, who's that person? And why is he on the computer? She's like, don't mind me, I'm leaving. She's like, did you win it? She's like, yes, thank you, bye. As fast as I could to get out of her way. So my cool new wave of British heavy metal item for the night, and then one more, we'll go deep. Chromie, Aaron, this one's kind of for y'all.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Problem?
Yeah, it is a problem. I want that record, and I didn't know anything about this record until Metal Theologian brought it up. It's fucking amazing.
It's a weird record. This is by an artist called Joe Step. The album's called Sacrifice.
It's super good, man. Like
the cover is just fucking crazy. Some kind of weird snuff film wannabe set.
It looks like a post-punk album cover or something weird like that. I don't know.
It's an odd cover for sure. Yep.
Even the name Joe, it's not an adjective noun name, so it has no business being metal.
Got the Metal Church guitar on the cover.
It kind of does. Yep.
Good.
Funny thing with this album, this was one that kind of made its quote unquote debut upon the collecting world at the Austin Record Show years and years ago, and only a couple of copies were around. This was an album at the time, and this would have been latest 80s, maybe earliest 90s. That was I know one of the guys that bought one of those first copies at Austin. He paid like $700 or $800 for it because the dealer had it. He was
Christ.
He played it. He played. He's playing it for folks, and the guy's just like, I must own this record. And he's just like, how much? And he's just like done. Give it to me. And it's crazy. It's guitar driven. It's got kind of a weird sound. It's got some cool songs. Some of them don't quite work. The funny thing, though, actually, but now later, the band was contacted. Dealers eventually tracked down a couple of the guys, and got some quantity of copies out onto the market. So it's not nearly as expensive now as it used to be. It's on Discogs now, and you'll probably pay $150 to $250 for a copy if you want it.
American. In Canada, that's about $7,000.
Mm-hmm. Yep, this is America. We spend real money here, not your play money, Phillip. But the thing, this is not actually the album I'm trying to. This is not the item I'm trying to feature here. This is the prelude, because there's another piece of Joe Stepp vinyl that most folks have never seen. This is 7-inch single by Joe Stepp. It's got 2 tracks from the albums, but they are different mixes. It's not just pulled from the album. These are different takes on 2 of the tracks. This single's not really supposed to exist. Nobody had ever really seen it. One on Discogs for $699. Well, yeah, Discogs. People can ask whatever they want on Discogs. It doesn't mean they're going to get it.
No.
But yeah, this thing I was visiting a collecting buddy years ago, going through some boxes and stuff. I was buying a couple of things from him. He was selling a few things here and there, and he pulled this out and showed it to me. He's like, hey, you ever seen this? I'm just like, is that the same Joe Stepp as the album? He was like, oh yeah, it's the same one. I'm just like, no fucking way. I didn't know they made a single. He's just like, I can't find anything about it. I don't know anything about this. And it was driving him nuts because he knew the band had been contacted. Dealers had sucked all the copies up they had. He's just like, yeah, and they never mentioned a single. He's like, as far as they could tell, the band was never even told that the single was pressed up because nobody in the band knew there was a single with their name on it. I was just like, holy shit, that's really fucking cool. I was like, are you wanting to sell it? He's like, no, I'm not looking to sell that. I'm just like, okay, I get that. And, we'll flip through some more boxes. He was kind of, still talking about it. Showing us just like, well, I just kind of asked. I was like, well, look, you seem like you kind of want to sell. It's like, hey, how much do you want for it? And if you don't want to sell it, I get that, but how much? And he blurted out a price. He's like, well, he's like, yeah, if you wanted, I guess I'd take this. And you could see the look on his face. As soon as he said it, he was just like, fuck, I shouldn't have said that. Because I was just looking, I was just like, oh, really? He's just like, oh, fuck, you're going to buy it, aren't you? I'm just like, yeah. He's just like, I ain't going to take it back. He's like, if you want it, I said it, I'll sell it to you. He's like, if you don't want it, I am taking that offer off the table. But I won't be a jackass and pull it back because I did say a fucking price. So you can have it for that if you want. I just like, shut up and take my money. I've only seen it. There's one copy listed on PopSite that turned up in 2012. And there's one person listed on Discogs that says they have it in their collection. Those are the only other 2 references I've ever seen to this Joe Stepp single. So there's more copies out there. I mean, they didn't make just, 1 or 2 of them. But yeah, it's just a weird single that even though people, have manically tracked down the members of that band and the albums, been this kind of, mythic thing once upon a time. In collector circles, the single never somehow got mentioned or came up and nobody ever knew anything about it. So, and for the sort of, uber obscure random thing, there it is. You might know and you might not. I don't know. We'll talk about it sometime. I don't want to say because he was like because reasons. But anyway, kind of a cool, very obscure one from the back of the singles box. So those are some of the random, goofy, obscure things I've got laying around the house.
That's awesome.
Okay, Marty.
Awesome.
It's on to you, Marty. What you got?
Well, I've only got 4, and they're not really that hard to find, I'm sure, but they're all from the same artist. But he's a favorite, and these are really when eBay back in the day. Sorry, everybody, I'm starting to get a little tipsy.
Welcome to my world.
when eBay, or in the early 90s, or in the 90s when eBay started, people were giving away vinyl for cheap, but these records weren't cheap at the time. I probably paid anywhere from $40 to $60 for these. But this one was a special one because I looked for this thing for about 13 years because it had the song The Lake on it. It's the King Diamond, The Lake picture disc. Of course, the CD ended up coming with the song The Lake on it as a bonus track. But what a great song. It's got the candle and also Halloween on it. So this is probably the Halloween picture disc, but I bought it for The Lake, and I fucking love the cover. It's just so cool. Such a cool, not very common picture of King. Always liked this one.
Was that the last time he wore that makeup before Gene was being a dick and he had to change that stupid? Because I hate King Diamond's makeup after this. Like Conspiracy.
I don't think he changed it till Conspiracy. So he put this on for, through them. No, wait, he changed it on them too. So it might have been that and Abigail. I think it's different on them. On the back where he's sitting in the chair, I think he's got the goofy.
I hate the newer school version of his makeup because the old school one is so perfect.
Okay, this one is another one I spent probably $50 or $60 on eBay back in the day. Nuns Have No Fun.
Basic.
Nice.
This is a black border. This did not come with the insert, and actually Alan had a spare copy of the insert and sent it to me as a present one day. I mean, how random is that to have a spare copy of the printed lyric sheet? That's crazy. But yeah, I have a complete set now. Nuns Have No Fun, Rave On Records.
Yeah.
And the two fan club albums.
I don't have that one. I don't have that. Oh,
Live
nice.
from the Depths of Hell and Corpse Without Soul, Curse of the Pharaohs. I'm sorry.
Those are great.
Yep. These have got a lot of demos on it. Fan club put these out. Funny enough, I walked into Camelot Music one day and they had both of these on cassette in Camelot Music, a corporate chain store, but they're fan club editions. I have the tapes still of these as well, but I had to have the vinyl as well. I mean, so great. And not a lot of pictures of King without makeup back in the day either. So it's kind of cool. A lot of this stuff was demo material. Yeah. But, one of my all-time favorite bands, and these were very cool acquisitions to have. But
I just found some Bratz bootleg. I haven't listened to it yet, though.
Oh, Bratz?
Yeah, when I was in Europe last time, it was just I had never even heard of it, but it was a bootleg of the Bratz demo, and I was like, oh, cool, I'll take it. I have no idea if it sucks or not.
How are the record stores in England?
I only went to like 3. But they were cool. They were no different than here. The pricing is a bit lower. Even with the conversion, the pricing was a bit lower. But
okay,
one thing I did find out way later is that bootlegs are very popular, and their bootlegs are very fucking good. So I bought a copy of South of Heaven. I bought a copy of Melissa and something else. And they were priced at like $13 US, and I was like, "This guy's a fucking idiot. He has no idea what he has." And then I got back to the hotel and realized that I'm actually the idiot. They're all fucking bootleg.
Oh no! Oh no!
I haven't listened to them. They might mean I don't really care that much if things are bootlegs, but I don't know if they sound like garbage. I guess I'll find out one day.
Right.
You ever notice Michael Denner always wearing pineapple shirts? We talked about it in the Chromium magazine. We got a bunch of pictures of Denner wearing pineapple shirts. And
he's not wearing here. He's got a fucking sweet mustache, and check out those leopard pants he's wearing.
Oh, I know. That's when
those leopard pants are fucking choice.
Yeah, he had no choice, but he got very unnerved apparently about the Satanism and all this sort of dark imagery. So to protect himself as like a talisman, he wore pineapple shirts.
He's got leather jacket on that one, leather no sleeve jacket on that one.
I'm not shitting you. This is a real thing. All right.
Yeah. To follow up on those the Satan's Nightmare ones, Marty. There's also this was the third Satan's Nightmare. At first just looks like a picture disc of the one, but it's actually not. It's one side of the Curse of the Pharaohs and one side of the Live from the Depths of Hell.
Why the fuck would they do that?
I
That's
have
dumb.
no fucking idea.
That
but
is dumb.
It's weird, but yeah. So the picture disc version, and kind of has the art from both too. Yeah, I bought it just assuming it was just a picture disc version of the live set, but no, it's half of one and half of the other. It's really weird.
King Diamond without the makeup is like so heavier than anything he's ever done before. He just looks like
He kind of looks like a badass there. Look at him.
yeah, he does not. He does not need that makeup. Look at those guys. They're all like taking time to smell
Fucking
the
Kim
flowers.
Ruz, man. He looks like he beat some ass.
In the wrong sense or the right sense, whatever you're into.
Well, whatever. But I don't know. That fucking jacket looks like he just crawled out of a Trans Am.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love that aesthetic. That aesthetic is like one of the. I love that. But I'm just telling you, like King Diamond without makeup is number one. King Diamond's classic makeup is 2, and that conspiracy era shit, I hate it.
Well, everybody, we made it to the end. This has been an awesome, fun time. I want to thank everybody. Mike, Pat, Phillip, thank you so much. Go check out Myke C-Town on YouTube. Go check out Ground Zero Salem on YouTube. Go check out
Killing is my business, and business is good.
Chromium Dioxide Radio. Go check out Let's Talk Metal. Go subscribe to these channels. They're all throwing down some awesome content. And thank you, gentlemen, for spending the night with me and Alan tonight. It's been great.
What's this, guys? Fuck you. I'm not letting you finish off. I am creating a new robot for the new show.
It's the flux capacitor.
New robot is coming.
Sweet.
Good deal.
But
yes,
everybody,
thanks for joining us. We really wanted to have a lot of folks on to get different perspectives on this topic, and I think we covered a lot of good ground, and hopefully folks have enjoyed it. We've had a lot of folks watching tonight, and that's awesome. Thank you all so much for hanging out.
If you like the topic tomorrow night on Contact in Blood, the Brits are tackling this topic as well, so go check them out. Link in the description. Everybody's channel's got a link in the description, and we've got Heavy Metallurgy t-shirts. Go check them out in the description as well. And everybody here in the chat, hang out, don't hang up, and we will see you all next week for sure. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Take care.
Mike, nice meeting you, dude.
We're